Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 87 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or leave us a nice review on iTunes. That would really help us out. I hope everyone's having a nice weekend so far. Thanks for joining us live in the chat. We really appreciate you getting involved in the discussion with us every week. If you've got any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Happy Star Wars Day to everyone, by the way. It is May the 4th, so May the 4th be with you all. So I thought it's only fitting that I do like a little Star Wars themed intro for everyone this week. So
I knew it. I knew that was going to come.
I always wait for the theme.
So you ready for this?
Yeah.
No.
First up, if you play holo chess with this guy, for God's sake, just let him win. You wouldn't want this Wookiee to get rowdy. It's the rowdy guy. He's adorable, but will bite your face off. How you doing, man? You all right?
I'm doing all right. It's actually because of your post that I realized it was May the 4th. That's how like off zoned I am at the moment. But yeah, May the 4th be with everyone.
Very nice, very nice. I think I picked the right one, a Wookiee, a Chewbacca for you. I think that was a good character choice.
Of course.
Rest in peace. I can't believe the actor's gone, but my wife said the one good thing about that kind of fame is that just like our friend Viper, you can walk down the streets of Dublin and nobody knows who he is. you go down to Tesco's and nobody's gonna be the wiser. So anyway, rest in peace, that guy.
Well, when you see someone swearing at like an apple, you probably know that it's Viper.
So this next guy, always extravagant, a fine pilot, and a great friend. He's the Lando Calrissian of the group. Of course, it's Nathie. How you doing, man? You all right?
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't expect this. I was waiting for something else.
Something horrible.
Maybe,
one of the annoying characters in Star Wars.
Yeah,
Jar Jar Binks or something.
Yeah, Jar Jar. I was expecting Jar Jar Binks.
Lando's good.
No one deserves Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
no one.
No one.
No, I thought Lando was a good choice. Lando was a good choice for you.
Oh, it is.
Very, very extravagant, with your Nike Air Mags and stuff like that. You kind of like that Lando-esque character. I kind of feel in that.
I am from the future in the end, and I travel with light speed. So.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. So next up, as this guy's at the helm of this fine vessel, navigating the depths of the internet to deliver this latest VR news to you, it's only fitting that this next guy is Han Solo. It's, of course, Zimtok5. How are you doing, man? You all right?
I'm great. That means I went with it with Leia. Jesus, yeah.
What the heck? Like, where do I get Chewbacca? Like, God dang it.
You're the kind of crazy one that, likes to hit people. So
that's all I'll be saying this episode.
It's all right. No. That was a fantastic fitting, Mike. I am I am very pleased to be Han Solo. But I think that does mean I need to do a stint in carbonite at some stage, which might get a little bit cold. Up north, it's okay. We're used to that with, when we do our annual barbecue. And my Portuguese friend reminds me that 12 degrees is not summer weather. That's 12 degrees centigrade for our American listeners. But no, it's been a good week, Mike. As I said, spent about 5 hours cutting the yard, so back's in crunching mode. Yeah.
Nice. Good to hear it. If you've got any other suggestions, by the way, for what characters we should be, let us know in the chat.
Yes, we have one. Mike is a little Ewok.
See, I was thinking I would be maybe more like, C-3PO, because people have called me a droid before, like an android.
Yeah.
Because you got no hair.
No hair.
You got the dome, man. You got the dome to fit that, Bill. So.
Exactly right.
But on the other side, Mike could also just live in a tiny tree house too. So.
That is very true. I would love to be an Ewok actually, because they're very cute and cuddly, and I'm down with that.
Or Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, okay.
No one deserves the job.
No.
And Rowdy's gonna be chained to Mike then.
I'll be Princess Leia.
Yeah. The pretty one.
With the bikini on.
Oh my
God!
Wear it. Someone's saying that there is a shape-shifting bounty hunter called Zam. and that I apparently should be that person. But I've never heard of Zam. That sounds awesome.
Nice. I was actually thinking about like Boba Fett maybe as your character, so it was a tough choice.
Yeah, Boba Fett, I can see where you would go with that. But someone also saying that Mike's Darth Maul, and actually I could see it with a bit of face paint. Mike could totally do a Darth Maul.
That's true. Got a dark side.
You're good at Saber. You're good at Beat Saber in a way that only Darth Maul is.
So basically, everything without hair works.
Exactly. So let's move on from Star Wars references. Let's talk about this week's show because we've got an amazing week lined up for you in terms of news. We've got not one, not two, but 3 new VR headsets launching. So we've got a jam-packed episode for you. We're going to be talking about, obviously, the launch of Rift S and Quest. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week. And then finally, we're going to be talking about the launch of the highly anticipated Valve Index as well. So it's going to be a very heavy hardware podcast, but you'll definitely want to stick around for the whole of the show. But first, of course, let's find out what everyone's been playing in VR this week and their highlight of the week. And of course, Rowdy is stepping up to the plate first.
Yeah. So I played with the Quest. I did a video on the Quest as well, Face Your Fears. I know that you played that as well, Mike, but you're going to be probably talking about that later on.
Wait, Face Your Fears 2, right? Face Your Fears 2.
Yeah. Very strange, though. We picked the same experience, but we both had a different experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Yes.
Completely different.
Completely different.
So we haven't really I don't know how they do it. I don't know how it's done.
So my guess is that it's not procedural, but there are maybe different stories, and they just get picked at random when you start a new game.
So the story thread was it's not just level layout, like literally.
No, the story was completely different.
So level layout had some similarities, but were different in the way they played.
What?
For example, Mike started driving in a car and he crashed. Well, I was in a van and someone was operating cameras on the inside of the apartment of the house. Yeah, completely different.
Hell, that's
and something
awesome.
went wrong with the cameras, and then I had to go inside. So
that
it's
is
like
the most exciting thing. How did you guys realize that? Just watching each other's videos?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we were like, wait, because I was first convinced that he chose a different, because you had like 2 experiences you could choose from, but I was convinced that Mike chose the other one, but he said, no, I choose the exact same one.
Yeah.
So that was...
when you begin the game, there's 2 experiences. One is the tutorial and one is the main game.
Huh.
Yeah.
And Rowdy's exactly right. Like, although, each playthrough will probably take you about an hour. But yeah, like you said, I started off in a car and I was looking for my sister, and you started in like a surveillance van where you were operating cameras, monitoring a house or something. And then although we were in parts of it in the same mansion, there was different stuff going on, and I experienced different fears than what Rowdy experienced.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. That is really
weird.
Like,
right?
What great game design. If that's actually at the back of this,
We're not 100% sure though, because we don't know exactly what triggered what. But it's strange that we had a different experience.
Well, so you got different builds or something. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is this for a dark sorcery?
And this is the thing, like Turtle Rock, the developers of the game, they haven't even released an official trailer or any details about this game just yet. It's only because of the fact that we've got like a press access sort of build of the game that we were even able to play it. But it's the full game on the press access. So,
but they did Left 4 Dead as well, right? So Left 4 Dead had an AI director, and it had set pieces that would be different pathing based on the playthrough. It wasn't always the same path. So this is like 10 years later, right? Wasn't that like 2009 that they released Left 4 Dead 1? It's not surprising that they would be pulling similar tricks out of their bag. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, of course, there's loads of jump scares in the game that's like completely obvious. But one of the really clever things I just wanted to highlight about this game is they use subtle things in a very interesting way, like direction, like misdirection. So they'll make you look over here and then set up something over
the entire
here
time.
And then they also do this thing where if you pick an object up with your hands, sometimes behind that object will crawl a spider on your virtual hand, and you just can't help but like freak out when that happens, and you just want to like shake it off.
Please don't keep making that motion.
I squealed because I'm not used to horror games either, and I literally squealed through the video. But yeah, fun title. The thing that I've actually been playing to most was ping pong. I've been playing like 40, maybe 50, no, even more. I think because I already played like roughly an hour yesterday, and I played another like 2 hours on another day of Racket Fury. I've been just like, ping ponging away the entire time. It's so cool to do that, I think, and that you can actually get that response time, because I always find that hard to have that in virtual reality, to get that response feeling, but they really did that well. I had so much fun in that.
Sorry, did you say, is that Racket Fury?
Racket Fury.
Yeah. I played it on PC and it was really good, as you said. Like really feels like a real ping pong ball.
Yeah. Playing racket, like playing ping pong with a racket.
Yeah.
While being furious.
Well, no, it's a ping pong table with a ping pong.
A ping pong table.
Just by the way, just before we move on, one of you is feedbacking some phone thing.
Interference. Yes, I heard the same.
You've got your phone on. Just be wary of that. It's not so close to your mic. But then let's move on then. So you played Racket Fury and you enjoyed that one, Rowdy? You'd recommend it?
A lot. I mean, not in terms of like visuals and that kind of stuff. It's not really that amazing. I mean, they have like robots that are like playing against you, and you can also play against other people. But at the moment, that's not really that feasible. But in terms of gameplay, if you like table tennis, definitely.
Nice. Okay, then what about you then, Nathie? What do you want to sort of highlight this week?
Well, first let's go to the chat. VR Boogie tried Falcon Age. Hussein dove into Renji on Go. That's a sweet as a puzzle title. Dr. Oculus played. It says Tea Time Golf. Must be the name then. And home plate baseball.
I think it is.
Okay, seems legit. And Michael checked out Ghost Giant, great game.
Oh, great game.
And Watto played some Garn and Project Cars. And then last but not least, Buck played Arbus VR Reborn with the one and only Zimtok 5.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yes, so what did I play? I also got a Oculus Quest up front. I dove into First Steps. That's the tutorial of the Quest. I also played a bit of Bait and also Beat Saber, and that's it. I've been only, looking into the settings of the Quest, what you can do with it. So I haven't played that much yet. But let me talk about the introduction of the Oculus Quest, because I do think it deserves a highlight.
Absolutely.
So it's the tutorial. It pretty much shows off what the headset and its controllers are capable of. You could compare it to the Oculus Rift introduction called First Contact. It also has a little bit of a mix of toy box in there and also the lab. So it's a mishmash of all kinds of tutorials, I would say, and it's super fun. So I'm not going to completely spoiler it, because I do think everyone who gets a Quest should just experience it for themselves. So let me just skip the start of what's happening inside. But I can definitely talk about the 2 mini games you can try. So there are 2 cartridges you can put into a little console. And one is a dancing experience, and the other one is a wave shooter. I think the dancing one is the best you can go for. It's amazing. You're basically dancing with yourself. There's this robot that you boot up, and then you discover that it's you're dancing with. But that doesn't seem obvious at the start, since this robot can also move by itself. So sometimes you're playing with someone that looks like you, but then other moments it just does its own thing. So it's this magical illusion you're dancing with, and it's so fun. You can grab its hands and then spin it around, and since you're on the Oculus Quest, it's a standalone VR headset, so you don't need to worry about wires or anything. So after a while, it's like, hey, let's freestyle. Let's just do our own little dance, and you go all over the place. It feels so freeing, and it feels so futuristic too. So yeah, the dancing one shows off the Oculus Quest so well of what it can do. Like this social interaction, the power of interaction you can have in VR. Then the shooting one, it's okay. It's not my favorite thing. It felt a little boring. There could have been more there. It's you in a space station, and you got to shoot these blocks that constantly change patterns, and you got to score points. And the more points you get, the more weapons you can buy. There are only 3 weapons you can get, so let's say you play it for 5 to 10 minutes and you're done. But it is a tutorial, so it doesn't need to be lasting that long. But if I would compare this First Steps experience to the First Contact, the Oculus Rift tutorial, I think it's not as good as, although the dancing one makes up for it. But I felt like there should have been more cartridges on the table, more stuff, maybe 3-4 things you could try, because the moment you are in First Steps, you have all these toys laying around that you can play with. And in First Contact, it's more of a story that you are into. It's a storyline that you play, and while you're doing it, it's a tutorial too. Well, here it's really serious. Like, welcome to the tutorial. This is what we're gonna do. Blah blah blah. So it could have been more of an adventure, and it starts off as an adventure, but in the end, it's not completely a journey you're going through. I don't know. Maybe Mike and Rowdy. I don't know what you guys think about this, but. That was my feeling. So it's nice, but it could have been more of a.
So the Quest First Steps experience is actually different from the Rift S First Steps experience. You actually have more things to play around with in the Quest one, and like you say, you have these 2 experiences, but you don't get first contact. So there's a bit of a trade-off there. But I was completely taken by surprise by the dancing one, and like you said, if I wasn't going to talk about Face Your Fears 2, that would have been my highlight of the week, because it was, like you say, it's not to be underestimated. It was a magical experience, because you plug these like little power cables in, and this robot pops up.
Yes.
And then it's like so adorable, by the way, the robot. And then it reaches out to take your hand, and you take its hand, and then it just starts dancing. And then you have it's like being at a wedding, right? Imagine being at a wedding for like your best friend. Yeah. And then their daughter comes to dance with you on the dance floor. Like, it's that kind of adorable moment where you just have that magical experience, and you just dance. You forget that you're an adult. You become a child again, and you just lose yourself in the moment and just go crazy. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. And it felt like being in a Disney movie or a Pixar movie in that sense, like that kind of magic. It really is great. Definitely highly recommended.
Yeah, I think that part where you finally get to interact with a character as your first experience, I think it's one of the best ways to go. And hopefully they will add more cartridges in the long run. It felt a bit empty after the dancing one, where I was like, where are all the other things you can play around with? But we'll see when the Quest drops, and people who have never tried VR will dive in. Maybe they will have a different opinion on that. But yes, First Steps, next level, super fun. And well, I would say I can highly recommend it, but there's no way you're not. It's like it's forcing you to try, because it's the tutorial. When you set your Quest up, it's just gonna boot up by itself, and luckily you can go back into it. But the funny part is when I played it for the first time, I set it up in my brother his bedroom, and he was already he went to bed, and I was like, no, you gotta check this out. So I set my Quest up upstairs, super quick, by the way, because I went for a stationary mode, and that takes you like, I don't know, 10 seconds and you're done. As long as you stand on the right spot without too much furniture, you should be fine. But he was like, what are you doing? So I started dancing with his rose. I was like, this is so fun. And he's like, what the heck is going on? Like, he's playing in my bathroom right now. And that for me with the Quest is just so fun. We're gonna talk more about that later. Sure. But yeah, that's First Steps right there. Totally recommend. And yeah, it will force you to check it out anyway.
Nice one. Well, what about you then, Zim? What have you been up to this week then, dude?
A lot of blasting. But before I move on to my bit, I got to ask Nathie a question, because I saw some similar interest in bait. Is bait on Quest 6 off? Can you walk around?
Yes.
Feckin' A.
Yeah. So So I was fishing at a lake, and I could just walk to the shoreline and get closer, or go for seated and then went to standing again. So yes, you can. And you can walk around in the shop of bait. It feels very freeing.
Yeah, that shop seems really cool as well. Sorry, Mike, were you?
If you want to stand next to the person who sells all the stuff and be behind the counter too.
Reach around and grab some tackle and run.
Yes. No, I didn't try that.
I just know that my dad is gonna love that game. I'm gonna have to leave the Quest there. I'm not gonna be able to record any videos anymore.
back flipping while
It must
fishing.
feel so freeing. Like that's what I felt with playing other games. But when you play an existing game that you've played before, and all of a sudden Sixdoff is there, it's like the shackles are off.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. Like it's the addition of Sixdoff that makes it so cool. Like that's what real VR is about. Like getting your hands in there.
There is one thing before I don't want to steal the entire podcast here. There is one thing with bait that I do need to highlight, and that is the fact that since the rings of the touch controllers, the revised ones, are on the top, there doesn't seem to be enough space between holding the fishing rod and then start, getting the fish in. And it was
clashing.
It was scratching with the other one constantly.
Yeah.
So I feel like they need to tweak it a bit and change the distance between those two. But it was very hard to play, and I think in the long run it could damage your controls. It could scratch the paint off a bit. But it's something that hopefully they will change. So when I played it,
I already hit a wall, by the way.
Did you?
I already hit a wall.
How did the new touch controllers fare? Any nicks?
Like it had like a small white spot on it, but that's all. And then a friend of mine also hit a computer screen in the office, but he hit it quite hard. So I think the controller stopped working for a moment because the battery got a bit dislodged. So I just had to open it, put the battery back in, and it was fine. They feel very sturdy though.
Well, I got a gazillion questions for you guys, but I will answer Mike's question first because I know we're going to talk about some of this stuff later on. So I will save some of my burning questions for later. I played Zero Caliber is the game that I played, which is interesting. It's one of those games where everybody looks sweaty in it because it's Unreal Engine and they've got spectral lighting clocked up to way too much. Everyone looks like they're guilty of something. But aside from that, it's a good-looking game. The fact that you have a series of weapons that you can unlock. It's a single-player or a co-op experience, and I played it co-op with a friend. And playing co-op, there aren't that many co-op games. Firstly, I'll just say there aren't enough, in my opinion. If you're developing games, don't always just think combative, versus PvP. Think about co-op experiences. Now, this game felt to me like if anyone's ever played Battlefield 3's campaign or Bad Company. This is dating me now. Bad Company 2 or something like that.
Company 2.
But if you play the campaign's not great. It's you're not going to win an Oscar for it, but it's fun. And some of the set pieces are good and all that. So that's what this feels like. The AI is not very smart. You're taking out a bunch of bad dudes and there's never any ladies. I don't know why. Ladies can pick up a gun. There's all these bad dudes in a house holding hostages, and so you're sniping them and all that kind of stuff, stealing enemy weapons. You have infinite ammo out of your pouch, and the gunplay feels like H3 VR. It feels like really solid guns with great models, and you have to you start off with a tutorial where you go through mini boot camp, and you have to climb across things, and you have to duck under fire, and you have to put a gun together and put it against your chest, and then you have to pull the pin on a grenade and throw it onto your buddy and run away while he blows up. Those are just mandatory parts of
that tutorial that reminded me of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Same boot camp.
Yeah, it feels very much like a modern day game. I didn't know much about this. It was getting really good reviews on Steam, and I saw the bright yellow background with Zero Caliber written, and the devs had chased me for a couple months with keys, being like, "You want to play our game? You and your wife, you play." And I was fine, because Karen couldn't make the time, and I was like, okay, I'll pair up with somebody. We had good fun yesterday, so I'd say it's one of those games that there's something not great with it. The AI is not the smartest, as I said, but as a game that you can have fun with, co-op, and the system where you unlock guns as you go, and you can walk down this cellar, and it's just all the guns that you've unlocked shown, and you can. That's Really nice.
And it has co-op. Only, I mean, I played it with user ID for it was quite a while ago, but it was. That
was my whole story, for fuck's sake. My whole story was on co-op, Rowdy.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's cool that it has co-op, but it is pretty bugged though.
Yeah, it is. It's bugged, and people can shoot you through like the corner of a building, and it's not perfect, but it's fun.
We broke the game like so many times though. Like it was.
But I think did they update it in any way? I mean, when you played it, it was just out, so it wasn't completely ready to go. But it must have been improved since then, or am I missing something out?
It feels pretty solid, but the performance wasn't great. I don't know if that was my PC at the time because it was having a little bit of heat issues or something else. But as a game, if you've got a buddy and you want a game to play. It's not that expensive. Zero Caliber.
I think the climbing mechanics in that title are so funny because you can just climb into a tree.
You can climb a whole tree.
Absolutely. And just hide as a monkey.
Because that's what user and
you can climb each other.
Climb each other and go like unlimited up into the sky.
What?
Only you reach a certain point, then the game just goes like.
Wait. So I could be this little like Mike could be my little Ewok backpack then, and I could walk around and he could just help me.
Nice.
Definitely.
Awesome. But anyway, that was.
Play this then. Just a quick question for Zim before we move into the quick news then. So how does this rank in terms of like shooters in VR? In terms of like Onward, Contractors, some of the other shooters out there. How do you think it ranks up against them?
Contractors number. So for PC VR, right? So actually, I'll just go all VR. So Firewall on top, Contractors second. I'd say what's third? Third place is always like, is it Contractors? Is it Pavlov? Sorry, is it Onward? Is it Pavlov? Those guys for me share kind of a spot. This would be under that. Okay. So it's a decent title, but it didn't quite make a like must-buy recommendation for me. It was just below that. So
but the co-op is really the edge that it's
the
got
co-op's the edge. The co-op's the edge because the other games don't have that. So if you're looking for co-op, it's the one to do. Yeah.
Excellent. Nice roundup. Okay, so let's get some quick news out of the way. We've only got 2 bits of quick news because we've got so much to talk about the other headsets. So we're going to start off quickly with Beat Saber because that's got some interesting news this week because it celebrated its first birthday. I can't believe it's been a year already since Beat Saber came out. Like, how is that a thing? This last year has just absolutely flown by. But to celebrate the milestone, Beat Games has released Beat Saber Origins. Now, basically, this is like a really early prototype version of the game from November 2016, which the dev team used to show off at events and shows before they officially released the game, which obviously then went on to sell over 1 million copies, which is just incredible. This little sort of taster, Beat Saber Origins, it only contains 1 track, which isn't actually part of the Beat Saber soundtrack that's out now. So it's kind of like a track that they were just testing back in the day. But it's just interesting to see how far the game has come in that sort of period of time, how far it's changed, how much it's changed. And if you're interested to go and check it out, you can go and basically play it for free. So if you haven't played Beat Saber before...
Wait. You can play it for free?
Yeah. Oh my God, Nathie, don't do that. You knew that.
I like free. I'm a Dutchman. The moment I hear free, I'm like, wow, free. No, but that's amazing, free.
That's
yeah,
nice.
like if you have been living under a rock and never played Beat Saber for some bizarre reason, which you totally should, by the way, you can go and check out this Beat Saber Origins for free. And if you get a taste for it, go and buy the main.
Yeah, but this is another reason to buy a headset because this time you don't need to pay for that game. You could also just buy the headset and play it for free for, I don't know for how long, but you can.
Repetitively on one song.
So if you didn't have enough money to make the jump, now you can.
Absolutely.
With that being free.
Yeah.
The funniest thing with this, Mike, is that I saw on Reddit people were like, okay, how long before people start, side loading in their songs into this and they break the back end of it, and then this becomes like basically free Beat Saber with all the songs. So I hope the devs haven't opened Pandora's box with this one because it's possible.
It's a really good point. But I thought it was kind of like an interesting way to celebrate their birthday. So congrats again to Beat Games, and nice one for bringing that cool little sort of Easter egg to the community.
Must be weird for you, Mike, to meet so many people on this planet that are still rock people to you.
Very, Very. Like whenever I go outside, that's when I meet the rock people. They don't know what Beat Saber is.
Like, listen, the Quest, the Index, it's coming. I was like, let this crazy guy just be crazy, you know. The rock people, listen. The future is coming. VR is taking over. You don't see it. Just open your eyes.
It's like being part of Harry Potter and Hogwarts, and they're all muggles. They just don't
Yes. So they're like everyone who didn't play Beat Saber yet are muggles.
Yeah, we should call them something else, like buggles. Buggles.
I don't even know what a muggle is. I'm just gonna don't answer that question.
So next bit of quick news is about Pimax. Because they released some more information this week about their upcoming Pimax sword controllers and base stations. Kind of weird, though, that although this is kind of mainstream news, no one actually talked about it this week at all.
I don't think it's the best time to even announce this. I think they did it because there's so much noise going around, but that could also work, well, not in your favor in the end if you do. But
who knows? It seems like the only people that are regularly talking about the Pimax are the same people over and over again. Like the mainstream seems to have like focused their attention elsewhere. But basically, what's going to happen is that Pimax announced their sort of sword controllers, which are their version of the Valve Knuckles controllers. Basically, they're going to be compatible with all Steam VR Lighthouse tracked headsets. So whether you've got a Pimax, a Vive, an Index, it's going to be compatible. So you can buy these piecemeal if you really want them. There will be two variations of this controller as well. One's called the Sword, and one's called the Sword Sense. Now, the more interesting one is the Sword Sense. That will come with thumbsticks and a small trackpad panel. So this is the controller that will feature the capacitive touch and grip sensors, just like the Valve Index. So it's got that kind of really fancy technology in it, which tracks each individual finger, which is going to be super interested. Can't wait to get my hands on them. And then you've got the Sword, which is basically the same controller, but it doesn't have thumbsticks. It has a trackpad, and it won't feature the grip and touch capacitive sensors. So it'd just be like a standard controller with a grip button.
Okay. But when I first heard the name, the Sword controller, I thought there was actually like an extension to it. Like, you know, you could like pull it out and be like playing sword games or something. Epic.
Wow.
It kind of makes sense that they would call it the Sword controller, because if you look at the controller and the way the kind of
shape,
the tracking ring goes around it, it kind of almost looks like a gauntlet of a sword.
Yeah. Zorro approves.
Zorro approves, exactly.
But I'm so happy it has a name now, because when I went to their office in China, they didn't have a name for it. So I was like, so these are the knuckles? I was like, oh, did I just say something wrong here or not? But they were fine. They of course must have been inspired by the knuckles. But you know what I'm interested in, like price wise, could this maybe be an option for people to go for if they can't spend their money on a pair of knuckles or as they now call them, Index controllers?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever call them Index controllers. I think they'll always be knuckles in my mind.
No, in my mind also, I feel you.
But you're right. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I don't know if it's an Englishism. You called the piece of the sword the gauntlet. I would call that the hilt. Is gauntlet a English term for that piece of a sword?
Grammar with Zim.
You're not particularly good with swords?
Zim is the Highlander.
Yeah, we have
there can be only one.
Yeah.
That's why they call me Han Solo.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, we don't know the pricing just yet. Pre-orders will be starting soon, unless you're a Kickstarter backer and you've bought a full bundle like I did. So these will be shipping out to you for free if you're one of those people. But looking at them, the only concern I have about these controllers is just the gauntlet things I'm talking about. You know, those tracking rings that wrap around your hand. Yeah. They look kind of big and bulky and cumbersome. So I don't know whether they're going to hit together or whether if you have your hands by your sides, your body. But Nathie, you actually tried these out, right?
But those were very early prototypes. I think they are now ready to hit the market. So,
but was the tracking ring still there on the controllers that you tried?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have any issues with them touching each other or anything like that, or did you feel that they?
I didn't play bait, so I don't know.
Good point.
They had a demo of Arizona Sunshine, and it worked fine. Fine.
With reloading as well, it wasn't that you were like hitting them then or something.
I mean, well, yeah, you did. You kind of did. But I mean, as I said, those were like prototypes, and I feel like they have been making them smaller for sure. They were quite bulky back then.
Well, I assume that if, especially for like the common kind of movements that you do with those kind of controllers, they probably have been filtered out. I can understand with something like bait, because that's not like you're not going to think of a fishing game immediately.
No.
This the entire
but
time.
it's like the same with Arizona. Like Arizona Sunshine has not been built from the ground up for their controllers. So the space that you have when you play it with, let's say, Oculus Touch controllers or with Vive ones, it just works because it has been made for those controllers back in, I don't know, 2016. So let's say if those controllers would become very popular, the SART ones, then it's up to the developers to kind of, upgrade their game so it does fit. It's same with Bait, like Bait does work very well with the Go and with the Oculus Rift, but apparently it doesn't work very well with the revised touch controllers because they have the rings on top now. So it's also a little bit up to the developers to find out. But then they, of course, first need access to these SART controllers.
Yeah. So that's some quick news about Pimax and their upcoming controllers that look like Valve Knuckles, but coming out later on this year. So if you're interested in those, keep an eye out. So let's move it over to Zim then, find out what releases we've got to look forward to next week. Super intrigued, actually, because I've been kind of out the loop other than focusing on what's been going on. So
I have a treat for everybody this week, because there's one that I picked out that it's inexpensive. It's only about £5 at the moment, UK on Steam, called With Loneliness. And I'm going to ask you guys all the question before I roll the trailer for this one. What kind of game do you think With Loneliness is? I'm going to start with you, Mike.
It almost gives me like, do you know that game Blind, where you're blind and you have to like roam around that mansion? That's the kind of vibe it's giving me just from the title alone.
Good guess. Okay, Nathie?
All I can say, it's a sad experience. It's gonna make me cry.
That it might do, yes.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
I think it will make some people cry, definitely, this one. Go on, Rowdy. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking the same kind of thing. I thought like someone who lost someone dear to him, and then you go to the end of his life or something, like how he copes or whatever. It's a coping game. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to report that you're all fucking wrong.
It's a wave-based shooter.
This is the weirdest.
It's a roller coaster.
It's a climbing game. Okay, it's a climbing game. I'll show it to you now. This is a really interesting game. So again, the title is With Loneliness. It's coming for PC VR.
Wait. The chat was saying T-Dubset is a dating app.
Dating app. We got to get some VR dating apps, Upload your avatar.
I think Mike played one that didn't work that well, right, Mike?
That was me.
No, that was Rowdy.
Oh, it's Rowdy. Yeah, Rowdy.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, there's a dating advice. There's several dating advice games, but I mean something like, swipe right to, whatever.
In VR, you mean?
In VR.
Okay.
But it's coming. With face tracking, it's coming. Okay, so this is by Giant Jump, released on the 29th of April, so this is out already. You can get it on Steam. And to me, looking at the visuals, I'd say it reminds me a lot of like To the Top, Don't Look Down, which we highlighted recently and I played. That's a great game. But the cool thing about this game, and I've read this from Steam comments, is that it doesn't explain itself. In other words, there's no intro or tutorial or whatever. You're just thrown into the grinder. So you're trying to leap through these colorful worlds. It almost reminds me a little bit of actually Mirror's Edge in terms of the kind of flair and flavor that you get in here. But I'm gonna give their little blurb and then a little bit from someone on Steam, because I think this is a good way to describe the game. So it's an athletic VR game that aims to escape. You aim to escape from Garbage World, so that's the world you're in, by clearing obstacles. While the game requires almost no parkour movement, so unlike something like Windlands, progressing is not always easy. And from what I understand, that's a big understatement. So sometimes quick reactions, stamina, and control are needed. Avoid many different obstacles in order to escape. Now, this is what Lechuso on Steam said, one of the Steam reviewers. The learning curve is excessive. There is no intention of the game to explain what it is you're supposed to do even in the first level. You have to try several things in order to know what the game even wants you to do, and with that you die several times, forcing you to start over from the checkpoint, return to the place where you died, and try to get it right time and time again. And he says, and all this in a virtual reality game is somewhat exhausting. Now, actually, to me, there aren't that many games that are a particular challenge. And so to me, that lights up my motor neurons and says, oh, I'd love to give that a go. And I probably would get frustrated in it, but at the same time, kind of exciting. So I don't know. What do you guys think of a game like that?
Looks very puzzly and fun. It also reminds me a bit of Superhot.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, it's quite mysterious. I like the thing with climbing titles is that you want to just get to the top or the bottom. I don't know where you should go in this one, but yeah, it's like so addicting. You can't stop. You can't stop. It's like you need to just finish it. There's no way you just go for the checkpoint. What is a checkpoint? You want to just finish it. So
I like the mystery in it though. Like that element to me. A lot of VR games, and this is probably the number one thing I had with Orbis. They throw walls of text at you. They're it's over-explained, and for something where you have to kind of trial and error find your way through it, can be a bit frustrating. But at the same time, for people who like that, can.
But going back to the title, so what does the title has to do with?
I have no idea. I have no bloody idea. Which I also like. This is like the most enigmatic little piece of software for £5 that I've picked on Steam. So I had to highlight it this week because it really looks interesting, and I will be playing this one for sure. So I'll report back next week and let you know what it was all about.
Cool.
Okay.
Mysterious. All right. Love it.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so the next one. This one, I think we've all played this. So launching on PSVR after the game launched last year, which I can't believe it feels like it's been longer than that. Box VR. So this is an aerobic routine and choreographed based game. The devs write from a PlayStation blog post that announced the announcement here. Each routine is choreographed to music ranging from hip-hop to electronica to disco and more. For the PSVR adaptation, we've more than doubled the number of music tracks, creating a massive variety of workout session combinations ranging in duration from 6 to 60 minutes. And we'll be adding tons more routines and tracks over time. So this game, I actually have kind of an interesting story here, is that I first met the developers for Box VR in OC4 in California, and they walked up to me. Yeah, you'll know what I was thinking at the time, Mike. So I met Sam and Samir. It was Sam, I think, and one other partner, and then later I met Samir in their London offices about 3-4 months later. But when I first met him, the guys were kind of buff, and I remember thinking, I don't need a protein shake, thanks, lads. I'm not really into that. Look at these scrawny arms. I don't do that stuff. But the guys kind of persisted, and I said I'd go along. One of the times I was in London, I offered to devs, as I do sometimes when I'm down there, I offered to devs to say, hey, if you want some free consultation, just hit me up, and they did. And so I went along to their co-working space. It was really cool, glass environment. So I was a bit surprised to see them in the middle of all these other. It was cool. They were like developing on Vive, I think, at the time. And they were in this small little glass pod with all these other businesses around them, and they were the only ones like in VR space. So everyone else is like every so often, peeking up and like, what the feck are these guys doing? And so when I got to try their app, I went in kind of feeling like I'm going to be disappointed. This is probably not going to be good, and I really liked it. And actually, when I got home, got a key for the game and played it, it is, I have to say, the first game where I felt like I was learning something, like learning how to hold my arm for a punch and things like that. Other games they just let you get at it. There's no kind of the training side to it, and actually the stepping stones that you take in that game, I think are really, really special. So it does stand out from other exercise-y type games to me.
Especially like the statistics you get from it are very in-depthful and can be super useful. And I think one of our colleagues, VR Gamer Dude, has been playing this title for months to lose pounds, and it's like a serious workout. So if you want to lose some pounds, you can in this one.
The multiplayer is really good in this as well. So we were talking about co-op games before. You can go side by side with somebody and be boxing away. I think you can actually do more than 2 players. I haven't tested that, but I have gone head to head with one of my main mods, and he kicked my ass in it. So it's one of those games as well. So onto the third one.
I don't think you will be able to get your own music in there, right? On the PC you could, as far as I know.
On the PC you can.
With your computer, your MP3 files can just be converted. Correct. But on PlayStation VR, that's of course not a thing.
And I think that's probably why they're underlining, they doubled their content.
Yeah, they doubled
They're coming
it.
out
Yeah,
with
makes
more.
sense.
So people who were maybe a bit concerned about that.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think Nathie once mentioned that he was also a fan of Max Payne. So this next game is the nearest that you can get to Max Payne in VR. Now landing on PSVR. You guys know this title. It's Sairento. I always say Sairento, but it's actually Sairento VR, which is I love their bid on this on Steam, and it's fantastic. I'm just going to read this out. VR was made for this. Perform triple jumps, wall runs, power slides, and slow time down while blasting away at a foe before landing to deliver a blade attack on another. Kit yourself with katanas, firearms, bows, throwing glaives, and legendary relics. Keep upgrading as you play. Pure cyber ninja fun. And I have to say, having played it, someone said this to me in chat when they were recommending this game to me. They said one word, and I think that is this game. It is steeped in this word, and that is badass. You feel like such a badass as you're jumping, sliding across things, cutting people's legs off. It's freaking amazing. It's really good. You guys have played this as well. What are your thoughts on it?
I actually played this quite a bit because I wanted to make like a cool video on this as well. But not only does it like make you feel like a badass, but if you get like a little bit of like skill in the game, you kind of know a little bit more what you're doing. I'm not claiming that I'm good at the game. Far from, but if you know like a couple of things and you just video capture that and you put some cool music under that, holy heck, it's like you're watching like a superhero, like, do all these kind of crazy things, sliding in slow motion. You slice someone in two, you throw your swords back on your back, get your pistols on, you blast the next. It is so awesome to do that. Yeah. Going backflips and like, it's
the jumping mechanics with the dashing teleportation is so satisfying,
and the sliding.
It's making
you slide under someone, shooting like that, like because if you watch a trailer on the channel as well, it's literally like that. It's exactly like that when you're playing it. So
Mike, have you played this?
Yeah, and I was going to say, and on PC when you play this, it's one of the rare games that actually supports haptic vest. So if you own a haptic vest from bHaptics, then you get the precise slices and dices and gunshots, and they've even got support for the facial interface from bHaptics as well. So when you get headshot, you feel it on your head as well. So it's one of those rare games that has proper bHaptic support, which is really nice.
That is nice.
It's they're not lying when they're saying that it's made for VR. Because at first I was a little bit apprehensive because it's so motion intensive, because it's probably not for everyone, but they really hit the nail on the head with the motion. Like it's so good.
It's fluid and fun. And I have to leave this as the final punctuation. I love calling out our Steam reviewers, friends from the other corner of the internet. The Wanderer on Steam says, fun VR game? So he bullet pointed 3 points and he said, fun VR game? That's quite common now. Guns and blades? Quite common. Double jump and slide? Buy this game.
Yeah. This sounds like a game that could be perfect for Quest. I think.
Yeah, but people are gonna do literal backflips with that one. I'm not joking.
Yeah,
I can't wait for the
find
videos.
someone. Yeah.
Someone in the chat is asking if this could support the smello vision.
Smell the roses?
The feel real smell-o-vision thing.
The fear and the excitement.
But that's it. So that's our releases for this week. There were a few others that I didn't mention, and that's my usual. I usually have to cut some, but those are the three. So that was With Loneliness, Box VR, and I would say Sairento.
Nice one. Thank you, Sim.
Thank you, Sim.
Mike-san.
So let's move on to the first of our three topics today, talking about hardware. And of course, first up to the plate is going to be the Oculus Quest. So as you know, Facebook F8 took place on Tuesday in San Jose in California. And during the Facebook F8 keynote, they announced both the Quest and the Oculus Rift S for pre-order, and then they're going to be delivered around the 21st of May. Now, I know obviously a lot of people out there were disappointed that the headsets didn't release the same day, so they could just go out to Best Buy and pick them up straight away. But, we've not got that much longer to wait now. We've got, just over 2 weeks to wait now. And from what I've experienced so far, and I think you guys could probably attest to this as well, the wait is going to be totally worth it, right? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, it's some news dropped this week from Upload VR, and they reported that the Quest actually briefly hit the #1 spot on Amazon in the gaming category, which is a first for any VR headset. So that's pretty amazing to see that.
Wow.
Just before it's sold out, you mean?
Exactly. But it's kind of interesting. I wonder how many people that aren't in the VR bubble, that just really don't have any concept of what VR is, saw that as the #1 selling gaming product and was like, hey, what is this? I need to look into this more, and maybe got them interested in it. That would be kind of an interesting metric to learn.
Yeah.
But we also heard, because obviously, some people are desperately waiting to get their hands on this headset through the Oculus subreddit, that some headsets shipped out early. I think Walmart slipped up and shipped them out to some customers, and they've got them in their hands.
Yep.
But the real issue is with this is that they need the Oculus app to set up the headset, and that hasn't been officially publicly released yet.
No.
So basically, you've got the headset, and you can just look at it and hold it.
That's terrible.
So I don't know.
I kind of think that's also a little bit done on purpose to have like an extra way of controlling, when the headset actually is being used, because they knew that someone somewhere would eventually slip up. So by this, they have an extra control mechanism to say like, okay, from this date onwards, it's.
Yeah. So I'm sure that, for those of you out there that have pre-ordered and have to wait painfully for the 21st, at least you don't have to sit and look at it every day knowing that you can't play it. That would be even worse in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of interesting that they did get shipped out.
Can I also say that here in the Netherlands, at least, I'm not sure how it was for you all, but I have seen the Quest pop up in some mainstream newspapers and yeah, like at some more places than I've seen before with VR stuff.
I have not noticed that on my end. Like I did look out for it a little bit, but I didn't see anything.
I don't go outdoors enough, and I'm in a gander that Mike is the same.
Okay.
You know what? I was about to say the same thing. I was like, I haven't left the house for a week, so I have no idea what's going on in the real world.
Well, you don't have to buy a newspaper, right? You also have it online. But for example, my mom was like, hey, that one headset, because she knew I had a question, like, hey, that one headset you have been talking about, it's now in this newspaper and it's over there and I've seen it. So like over here, at least in my country, it was at some websites, at some newspapers, and not just techie ones, also just ones that everyone checks out. So yeah.
Or like the Wall Street Journal, if you're want to get the real top end education, learn about this headset. And I say that because if you missed the Wall Street Journal review of the Quest, they did exactly what Oculus told everyone not to do, and take it outside and burn your lenses by pointing your headset directly at the sun. And that's exactly what they did in a video. It's almost a step-by-step guide on how to destroy your headset. So if you're interested and want to laugh, go and check out the Wall Street Journal Oculus Quest review. It's hilarious.
Did they actually burn it? Do you know?
I have no idea, but they were literally holding.
I know. I saw the clips. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was embarrassing. So just to reiterate, be careful. Don't take your Quest outside. Those lenses can magnify in the sun and basically just burn your displays. It will be irreparable. You'd have to replace the whole headset.
Ask him.
I think the only thing that I can say is, right, I mean, in terms of taking outside, people are going to. I know they are, because this is like one of the things, right? Just be really careful. Be really careful. I burned a headset. I learned the hard way. The most painful part of it is that at the moment, we don't have the ability to get saves off. I don't know, Mike, if you are already going to plan to mention this.
Yes.
Okay, I will say nothing more.
and I was going to say, it's almost like you read my mind. It led me on perfectly to say that, last episode we talked about, not taking the Quest outside again. And Zim mentioned the fact that he destroyed his Go and that he couldn't transfer the saves from his Go onto his new one. So he could carry on where he left off in his games. Yeah. Because we don't have any cloud saves. Well, John Carmack confirmed via Twitter that they are going to be working on that. So that is going to be a thing in the future, which is
that's great.
Nice.
Can I just say one thing? John Carmack fixed Palmer Lucky's fledgling VR headset. Then what was the next thing he did? He brought like Doom to VR, right? He did the whole Oculus stack. He did the Oculus Go. He did the Henry video. He fixed Beat Saber's tracking in Quest, and now he's doing the cloud saves. If this man if anyone ever runs over this man, I warn you, like there's going to be a crowd of angry gamers taking your legs or something.
And he revived my Oculus Go.
That as well.
Like he reached out to me in DMs like, listen, let's fix it. So this man, thank you.
What a
for
legend.
being with us.
This guy is off another planet. He's the Messi of VR.
I'm surprised people aren't like, like he's like the Messiah and people just go to his house and pray for like a year. I don't know what day that would be. Maybe John can tell us, but there you go.
We should have a John Carmack day.
I'm so glad. That was so needed. Yeah. I like it felt like an oversight when the Go landed that there wasn't a save migration. So basically it's cloud saves.
Especially with the Quest being even more of a gaming device than the Go. Yeah. It only makes sense.
Yeah.
So just one more thing. Let's say if someone is not listening to the warnings and takes it outside, then burns its lenses or does some damage or whatever, does this get covered in the warranty? No.
I don't think so. Because they specifically state on the device.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it would be covered on the warranty if you could make the case that it's like regular use. But if the device specifically states that it is not to be used outside, then
so don't risk it.
Yeah, they state it in the introduction, and there's little stickers that you have to peel off the lenses that specifically say do not show this to the sun. So, I think they're pretty much covered there. But in terms of the headset itself, it doesn't come shipped with any bundled games. So, there isn't a Beat Saber bundle, which we think is a bit of a shame. I think we discussed that on last week's show. However, if you did spend all your money and you don't have any money for games, it does come shipped with 5 free demos. So you'll get a demo of Beat Saber, Creed, Rise to Glory, Journey of the Gods, Space Pirate Trainer, and Sports Scramble. And,
yes.
That I didn't know. Okay, so that's the demo disc idea that kind of Nathie was saying last week. So that's
it's funny.
That's actually a very good thing, because I was quite noisy about this, because I still think that Beat Saber, whatever legal reasons, and I think there are probably several, that Beat Saber and Oculus couldn't get together and put that obvious sandwich together and feed it to the world, and as making it a bundled pair on Quest, even if it wasn't Rift S, right? Like just Quest bundled comes like with the Game Boy and Tetris, like it's in the box. I don't know. I still don't know why.
They're asking in the chat as well. Zane's Raza saying, is there also no super hot demo?
Oh, there is, but I don't know if it's just a press one. There is a demo that we've got access to.
Yeah, no, that's let me just kind of like get that out of the way. If you're watching videos right now, or you see screenshots, things like that of all these free games in the store, super hot bait, etc. Those are not free. That's just for press. So press people get access to everything, because it would be kind of silly for them to buy them and then show them off. So what Mike just highlighted, those are the games, those are the demos you will be able to play on Quest for free. But the rest you see, like Face Your Fears and other ones, are not free. You will have to buy them.
Can you run that list again, Mike?
Beat Saber, Creed Rise to Glory, Journey of the Gods, Sports Scramble, and Space Pirate Trainer. And while I am on the subject of Space Pirate Trainer, it is freaking awesome on the Oculus Quest.
I bet.
It's freaking awesome. And it's going to benefit a lot from having a demo there, because I think people are going to play this not really knowing what it is and think, holy crap, this is amazing.
It has Belgian roots, of course. It's
Jesus.
You ever doubted that?
I am curious though. Like last week, you were super hyped for Sports Scramble. Does that hype stand up?
Well, I played a lot. I've even only still played the tennis one. I haven't even gone into the.
You only played the tennis one?
I've only, because they also have a regular mode. You can also play like turn off all the scramble thing and just play like regular tennis.
Oh, and then nice. It feels like the new Wii, right?
Arcadey. It's still very arcadey, of course, but
Rowdy, it's like the new Wii.
Yeah.
That's how it feels, right? Someone also said it in the chat. It's like the Wii, but then in VR.
Yeah, Wii Sports.
Yeah, I played
and it's very polished. It's very polished.
It is. I played the tennis and the bowling, but I haven't played the other one.
I didn't actually know up to this point that there was anything but that funky tennis scramble thing, because that's the only thing I've played the two times I've played it.
It was called Tennis Scramble originally, and then changed its name later on to Sports Scramble. That's probably why.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you can turn off this, because I noticed that as well, because I even have the regular counting system with like 15, 30, 40, and then dues and whatever. They have that as well in there. You just need to turn on the classic mode and then turn off all the scramble. Then it's just a regular. I haven't figured out yet how to do the top hand serve.
Overhead smash.
But just the serve. But I had fun with it. I took it to work the first day that I received it. I took it to work to show some people, and people couldn't believe it. Like, they were absolutely blown away. And those are people that have tried virtual reality before. They've tried it with the Go. Some of them have tried HTC Vive or the Oculus, but they were absolutely blown away with just how easy it is to set it up. I didn't even mention the price, because I was like, I'm not gonna tell them how much it is, and just asked them what they would pay for it, and all of them went like roughly 200 to 300 euros more than what the actual price was. Yeah. Of course, those are people that have no idea about virtual reality except for what they sometimes read in the media, and they were absolutely blown away by just the sheer quality. One did get motion sick because she played Rush. Which is a skydiving experience. That's the first time I said, like, you shouldn't do that. No, but I like skydiving, that kind of stuff. So it's not gonna go well, girl.
talking about the games on Quest, if you go into the store, you have this filter, and you can just check out the comfort level. So let's say if you want to go for something easy, then you can go for that, and it has all these ratings. So if you want to go for Rush, that's like next level. That's like for.
I want to know from the chat on that point, right? Has anyone ever used in a buy decision? Has anyone ever used the comfort system? I've never, but then again, I'm kind of hardcore.
I did in the early days.
You did, because Mike, you were really quite easy to be nauseous in the early days, right?
Yeah, it's worth mentioning completely. Like, I was really susceptible to motion sickness in the early days of VR. You know, like, I would really struggle. I would purposely avoid games with smooth locomotion and prefer teleportation, like in the early days.
Wow.
Because I just couldn't stomach it. Yeah. But over time, you know, I've just become immune to it.
I'm so jelly of Mike. Like, when Mike started his VR career, you had like comfort settings, and now like now you have like so many new tools too. But when I started with my DK1, it's kind of like, okay, someone found out another way of locomotion, and let's try to get through it and get used to it. But it's so good that they have that. Talking about the menu on Quest, pretty much everything is there, right? It's very similar to the Go, so that means you have a home, you have the store, you have a browser. A gallery. You have all kinds of settings. So if you want, you can decide to cast to a TV screen or a mobile phone.
Recording with it is way easier than the last time that I tried it with the Oculus Go.
Also, yes.
Does the Oculus Go still do that when you press record and you go in the app and then back out, that it like automatically cancels it?
No, they changed that.
Do it now?
No,
they changed it.
It's So in the recent revision of the software, they made it more robust, and I agree. That was my first, because when we were at PAX, did the kind of on Quest recording, and I noticed how robust it was. It was like, oh, good, it's not unsetting. And then went home and checked the Go, and it's like it's nice, but I still think the Quest is really easy to record with.
The recording it's good. It's much better.
So you can also live stream if you want, and then there are a couple of interesting settings that I've seen. There is one called Auto Wake Up, and as far as I know, this will trigger your Quest when it sees you, and then it turns itself on. So let's say you're like this super addicted person, and you want to get right into VR next to your bed. You can just put your Quest on a shelf or a table, and it's like, hey, let's go, and then it turns itself on, and bam, you're ready to go.
I think that uses the internal light sensor. So when you put it on your head,
it's not the front ones. It's like the
it's not like a phone or something. Like, hi Quest, can you please wake up? I don't think that's
I thought that was like the case.
That'd be cool though.
There's this other setting. You can kind of modify your Oculus button that is usually taking you back to the home screen or pauses a game. You can actually hold it, so it will load and then go back into the menu. And also when there's like a high-speed, fast-paced title happening, it will actually turn itself off. So if you're then playing Beat Saber, I'm sure you all have been there, right? Where you play Beat Saber and you're so into it that you're suddenly hitting the pause button. So you can with high speed, you can turn that off. So yeah, those are some settings that I found. Something I did notice is that there is no Bluetooth option in there yet.
No, Bluetooth headphones aren't supported, and John Carmack confirmed that it was introducing too much latency, so they haven't supported it.
So no Bluetooth at all, basically.
I don't think it's going to be supported in the future either.
We have a Crash Organism in the chat saying that his friend hopes that the Quest works with adult videos.
I can confirm actually, because they have these settings. No, I didn't try it myself, but they have these. You can clear your data, for example. They have these incognito modes and things like that. So that just screams for something naughty. So, and you can make your screen bigger too.
And it's worth
only your screen.
It's worth noting that the browser is the same as the Go browser, so whatever you can do on the Go, you can do on the Quest. So
yeah, but there is something super next level about this browser, because if you have web VR experiences, you can actually go in there. So one moment you're staring at the browser, but then the next moment you can just hit a button and you're inside your browser. Mm-hmm. So if you want, you can actually play all kinds of web experiences. One that is supported is Sketchfab. A must play, I would say, or a must discover. So like the browser really comes to life. You can just like get sucked into the browser nowadays.
And actually, Tyrrell Wood in chat is saying that the brightness setting is missing as well. That he would have preferred to be able to save some battery life. So there you go.
No, I actually don't see it as like saving the battery is quite good though. I mean, I have not been able to deplete the battery on one go yet. There's always been like a moment that I said like, okay, we're gonna take it off now for a moment after like, I don't know, roughly like an hour or something, or a little bit more. That I wanted to take it off. So for me personally, the battery was not an issue because I would be able to charge it after that.
Yeah. As long as games are well developed, they will not drain your battery like crazy. And all the titles I've tried so far are, very good with the Quest. And people are constantly asking how long the battery is. I think it's 2-3 hours. That's it, right? That's depending on what you do. So if you stay in the home menu, like that's the best place to slow down the battery, I think. But the moment you start playing, of course, things start to heat up a little bit. Someone in the chat was also asking about the IPD adjuster. So anything that needs to be said about that?
So basically with the IPD adjustment, it's mechanical, which is super nice. They do prompt you straight after you've experienced first steps to set your IPD calibration with some green lines like they did with the original Oculus Rift. Interestingly, you don't get that on Rift S. They just hide it in the menu. They don't even mention it. So it's good that they mention it on Quest. But it's nice, of course, that if you're swapping to different users, that they can adjust it manually on the fly. So it's really great.
Why would they hide it?
Good question. I have no idea. It's really
so
surprised.
Important. It's like one of the main roots of having a great VR experience.
Yeah, completely. And just quickly, because we touched on games, I just want to mention, a lot of people have been asking as well, like, why aren't we playing Robo Recall? Why aren't we playing Vader Immortal?
Rec Room, Arbus, VR Chat.
Yeah, we only have access to like 14 games right now. They are sort of being trickled in, but that's all we've got right now. So that's probably why we're not playing these bigger titles. But also, I just wanted to talk about pass-through mode really quickly because you touched on it. It works really, really well. It's great for setting up your Guardian and your boundary system. You basically just trace it out by seeing the real world around you in a black and white view. On the Quest, it's not stereoscopic like it is on Rift S. Like Rift S feels more natural, but Quest, it's still great. It still works at the end of the day, which is all that matters. And you're still able to sort of like yesterday, I showed a little clip where I was able to walk to the edge of my boundary, put my head through the boundary wall, and then it just fades into pass-through mode. So you see the cameras, which is great for picking up a drink or having a quick conversation with someone. But someone asked, would you be able to see notifications on your phone using that method? And I don't think it's that high enough resolution.
No. It's too, like, everything that it sees that is bright will actually make it even more brighter than it already is. So
exactly.
there's no way you can see that. But yeah, the setup, let's say if you want to paint your own, that's how I call it, like paint your own room scale area. It takes you like 3 minutes.
It's so fast. It's so insanely fast to do it. It's like because I had that I got this like box where you can like put it in, like this one. And you can put your headset and your controllers in there, and literally from like taking it out of the box up to playing a VR game took me less than 5 minutes, which is insane to have that. Well, to have that speed of like. Setting it up.
That's actually one of the main things I was testing when we were there at PAX, was the not just the setup time. So I'm glad you benchmarked that and you said less than 5 minutes, but from picking up the system to swinging a blade in Beat Saber, 8 seconds.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. It really delivers on like giving us like that console experience. You know, you boot up your console, you press play game, and you're playing a game.
But
you don't need to.
It's such a different thing. Like if I had to tell my wife or something, like go if she wants to go play Beat Saber on PSVR, let's say, right? It's like that she's gonna have to involve me to understand how to get into it, and the same thing for Vive. Absolute same deal. It's just slightly too much to kind of remember. But Quest is just so easy. It's exact. I love your analogy, Rowdy. Console. That's what it is. They turned VR into a console now.
Yeah. So I was just going to quickly say, you could give this to your uneducated parents who have never tried VR before, and just say, put that on your head, and they would be able to use the UI and navigate it. It's very intuitive.
I think also what helps a lot is that if you set your language, everything is in your language. Like I played the Dutch tutorial, and it's very, very simple. Because let's say if you give it to my parents here and it's in English, they're gonna be like, "What the heck am I playing here?" But if it's in their own language, then it's going to help them even more. And the memory of it, actually remembering your space, it's really good. It's really good.
Yes.
There was one moment. This is kind of funny to tell you guys that I had as I said, I tried it in David's bathroom, but he's like all the way up in the house. He's at the attic. So I set up this play space. Then I quickly had to go downstairs. I still had the Quest on my head. I was looking up. I was like, oh wait, it's right over there. So it was tracking so well that it still remembered kinda where my play space was somewhere up there, so I could see it. It was so weird. And there was even one moment where it spawned me below the floor, and I was like, I can't reach it anymore. So yeah, there are these moments where like it tracks so well. And I also one moment where David thought it was funny to turn off the light. It doesn't work. Then it doesn't work. It shuts itself. Well, it doesn't shut itself off, but it's like, listen, I don't have enough light. It's not gonna work. So complete darkness. It's not gonna happen. Doesn't work.
We had another question in chat, which I don't know if anyone tried it, but it was a VR bug. It was asking, let me just look at it real quick, if it would be possible to attach like a power
bank,
like we call it, like a power pack.
Yes, yes, it is possible. I have been testing it. The ones that I've got are kind of really big and bulky anchor ones, and it does work. So you'll get hours and hours out of it. I tried it with the Go once, and it lasted like 14 hours. Ridiculous. I plan on doing similar tests on the Quest, but I want to try and find a more streamlined battery that would fit easily in the case.
I have this one. This one is from the Vive wireless adapter, and it comes with this clip too, so you can put it into your belt. There might be like 3D printed ones too. And the anchor ones fit also in here.
This and the amperage and the voltage, it works.
Well, but it's, let's say I haven't been in-depthly testing this on how fast it charges or anything, but it technically you can have a battery pack and hook it up and charge it that way.
Yeah, so it will trickle charge it as you use it. It doesn't like the Quest doesn't support fast charge, so it will be just a trickle charge. But that'll be fine if you're playing and using it at the same time. You won't.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the power source. Like I've been charging it with my PC too, super slow. That's like extremely slow. Well, if you just use the adapter, it's way faster. So it really depends on what you use.
Yeah. So another thing that I learned I do want to share quickly is casting, because I tried it out on my phone. It worked fine. There is latency in the cast, even using a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi hotspot, which is right in my office. But it's good enough, I would say, for just an average viewer just to see what's going on in VR. But the one thing weird was that I tried it with Beat Saber and it worked. And then I saw Cass and Cherry's video about it, and they said, "Oh, we tried casting with Beat Saber and it didn't work." And then I tried Beat Saber again, and it doesn't work now. So some update happened, and now it doesn't work. So you can't cast Beat Saber right now to a phone, which I think is a real shame.
It's probably an accident. It's a dev setting, though. I mean, they allow that. That's the thing. Just like if you try on Go to cast like Republic, there's a few other games as well that like won't allow you to cast. There is a hard wall. It's an option for a dev to enable. So I think what probably happened with the Beat Saber one is either they're temporarily switching that off intentionally, or it came with some kind of default build and they unintentionally packaged that and pushed it.
Well, I mean, this press build on Oculus Quest is constantly changing anyway. So the moment you're playing something, they could just work on something, and that's why it's also not public yet, because it's not not completely safe to go in there. And sometimes there is suddenly another setting.
Face Your Fears 2, they even changed the entire game in the space of like 2 people playing it.
They were live switching around. Yeah.
So let's quickly just talk about Screen Door Effect and God Rays, because how do you guys feel that compares to the original Oculus Rift?
Screen Door Effect for me is less. God Rays, I would say roughly the same, I think, for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the God Rays are definitely noticeable. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me,
especially, I mean,
if you look for it once again, if we have this whole discussion again, let's say if you're this person that is completely obsessed with resolution, with God Rays, with everything that is just specs, if you're looking for it, yes, you can find it.
But only really on like those high contrast scenes, right? You're not gonna see them anywhere else. You didn't even have that with the Rift, really, in mind.
No.
I think both Screen Door Effect and God Rays are reduced on the Quest from what we experienced on the Rift, in my personal opinion anyway. But just quickly, like, to sort of finalize the Quest, maybe you could just quickly summarize just briefly what you think of this headset, if you think it's a good thing, what you don't like, what you do like, and then we can move on to Rift S.
Who starts?
Go for it, Rowdy.
A bunch of wankers. No, sorry, I didn't say that.
I think it's a great device. I think for the price that it is, it's severely underpriced. I'm almost sure that they're losing money on every headset that they sell, since none of the R&D costs. It's only the material that is implemented here. So I think that's a great thing. The only issue I did have with it, it's heavier, noticeably heavier for me, and it's more because there's no anything in the back as well. All the weight is concentrated more at the front. So I do have the feeling that is more, especially because I have already a bit of back problems and neck problems as of recently, because I'm always like hunched at a computer. I do notice that more. Also, the foam that is on there, the foam on there, I don't like it. It scratches my face. Or maybe it's because I'm so used to like the VR cover, but I always find it like the covers that Oculus uses.
Yeah,
they're a bit uncomfortable for me. I don't know. Maybe it's only me who's feeling that.
And it's fused, right? It's not like you can't remove it. So even if you sweat hard, and this is my question to you guys. So even if you sweat hard in a Beat Saber session, you can't remove it from the device. I understood.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, with the Quest you can. Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, with the Quest you can. Okay, thanks, Mike.
So the foam is attached to this plastic piece that you can remove.
Oh, that's fine.
I would imagine in the future VR cover will be.
They are working on those kind of things already.
Honestly, with almost every headset I have used, I'm using VR cover, so it's
me as well.
So nice.
I got a question for Rowdy though, based on his and Mike for your Face Your Fears experience. When I played this at OC5 last year, it was the first time I felt what I'll call the real pain of a nose impact from my flinching. So I'd flinch to the left or right, and I found this later at PAX when playing Beat Saber, that you go left or right, and the thing like punches you in the nose, and so you feel pain from that. Did either of you get that?
So I didn't have that. Also, probably because I'm more of a man than Mike and you are when I'm playing Face Your Fears.
Yeah, right.
Shots fired.
From my perspective, I wear the Quest tighter than I usually would anyway, and that's because I don't have any hair.
Yeah. Exactly.
And when I get hot,
right.
there's no friction to stop the headset from sliding because it is front heavy. So I do wear it tighter than normal, so then it doesn't have that problem anymore.
But also because it's heavier, like it drops more than the other ones. And I really tried, like I put it on like the lowest thing that I could do. So it would really, maybe it's just the weird shape of my head. I don't know. Maybe that's the
weird
problem.
head. That's true.
Got a weird head.
We should do a head comparison, lads.
I'm not taking part in this weird science. So what about you then, Nathie? What is your sort of final thoughts on the Quest?
This is definitely bringing us like closer to, VR going mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a very consumer friendly VR headset. I think it's the easiest one in the standalone lineup right now to be getting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely something that I trust more people with than ever before, from all kinds of parts of how techy they are, basically. So yeah, the Quest is going to really push the market. I think its standalone is, let's say right now, the way to go. I think PC is great. It proved itself, but I think standalone is going to go to the moon, to Mars actually.
Yeah, like, and to sort of give you my opinion on it, I feel the same way. I think it's a fantastic headset. It's affordable. It provides a full 6 degrees of freedom VR experience that you could have on PC.
Yeah.
You do have the compromises of the graphical fidelity and the complexity of the games. However, it's really fun to use. It's comfortable. And most importantly, it's just very accessible. Like you said, you put it on, you're in VR straight away. There's no setup or messing around. And for that, I think it's going to do extremely well. I'm very excited.
Two big questions about the hardware, that you guys have in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, at PAX, the battery door in intensive Beat Saber sessions was coming off as you gripped the controller too tight. Is that still a problem?
Yes. So, and I shall tell you why. It's because you're gripping it wrong.
Don't you even start that, Mike. Yeah, go on. Tell me while I'm gripping it wrong.
So basically, it's going to be difficult for me to show you this, but I'm just holding it normally here, right, with my thumb rested on the buttons. If you hold it like this, you will end up pushing that door slightly. However, what I found is if I put my thumb here, so I rest it between the thumbstick and the inverted tracking ring, that's the way to play.
It's okay. You don't look like a tool at all, Mike. You look totally normal. But if it helps the battery door thing,
if you twist your thumb behind your head like that, you have no problem at all.
But honestly, this we talked about this a few podcasts ago. Holding the controllers in different orientations is one of the strategies to succeed at Beat Saber. So, anyway, the second question I had for you was, it's not just passive cooling. There's a fan in the Quest. When you've been playing for more than an hour or whatever, do you hear the fan?
Nope.
I don't.
Well, you have the sound on. If you just turn the sound off and you're like, let's listen, then you might hear it. But
I have not tried.
You've not noticed it so far, anyway.
You have the audio on, so there's no way you can hear it in any way.
I have a third question. Sorry. Third question is the audio pipe down the head strap, comparing to the Go, and in a nice environment like at home where it's quiet. What are your thoughts on it? I'm just curious.
It's very flexible.
I feel it sounds the same as the Go, in my opinion.
Same as the Go.
But yeah, in terms of audio, like it's the same. Like I would still recommend if you're going to play Face Your Fears or Beat Saber, get a pair of headphones.
Chat was asking earlier, actually, if any of you had any headphone recommendations specifically for the way the band runs and all that. If anyone has a good setup that they think is like they should recommend.
So I think any pair of headphones will work with the Rift. Any pair of headphones will work with the Quest. It's a different story with the Rift S, and we'll get onto that in a bit.
Interesting. Thank you, guys. Those are my 3 questions on the Quest done.
Cool.
Last but not least, about the audio, I heard that they are going to release these ear.
Yes, so they're releasing an official accessory that utilizes the 3.5mm jack on both sides of the headset, but it will be an in-ear bud accessory, I think.
Yeah. I was seeing pictures of it on that Japanese Amazon site. But the price is something else. It looks like it's just earbuds that tie into the headset, and that's it, from what I've seen.
Yeah, but we haven't had any official official details dropped yet, so it could change. But personally, if that's the case, I would still go with like full over-ear headphones for the best experience. Like in-ear headphones, yeah, I tried them on Rift because I've got them here and they look identical to the leaked images. And yeah, I don't like them.
That's it. And the thing is, the other part that kind of corroborates the story is that before they announced live, it was maybe half an hour before, these Amazon pictures landed about the accessories, and they included the travel case, which is about 40 pounds, and then they included the picture of the two earbud things, and that's like 45 quid for earbuds. How much did you pay for those, or if you paid for them, Mike?
Yeah, I did. I think they were 40, 45, 50 pounds when they released for the Rift.
And your feeling about those is?
I wouldn't recommend them at all.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So to wrap the whole Quest thing up, I have one good question here in the chat. Aaron is asking, do you guys think Quest will outsell? He's asking PSVR, but let's say PSVR, but maybe also PC VR. Like, what do you think?
Well, I think it will be hard to catch up with PSVR.
That is true. Like, it's been a while. It's been a while.
But maybe a more fair comparison would be if they like would release a new headset like now, like if there would be a new PlayStation VR headset, releasing now.
But I've seen so many people actually wanting to jump from their PSVRs to a Quest now. So the Quest and the PSVR are, well, kind of in the same ballpark. For a lot of people.
Yes and no, because I think just the portability of the Quest like speaks for itself, and I still think you will, if you want a more like complete experience, you will probably go with something that is curated, so Quest or PSVR. But at the same time, I still think that the experiences that you have for the PSVR will probably, because you rely on the power of the PlayStation, will be a little bit more pushing the boundary rather than the things that you see on Quest, which is still on a mobile processor.
But I would say it's only pushing it in terms of graphical horsepower and complexity of the games. The actual freedom you get with Quest, and in terms of a true VR, 6 degrees of freedom, room scale
tracking,
it's better on Quest.
I think it's more like ballpark in the sense of like the people that are interested in these kinds of VR headsets.
And it's cheaper. Yeah. It's cheaper than a PlayStation with a PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
Next topic.
So let's move on then. Let's talk about Rift S, because of course this is the next iteration of Rift. I say next iteration because it's not really a next generation.
It's 1.5.
It's a 1.5. Definitely. It's a Rift that replaces the old Rift, so you'll only be able to buy the Rift S in the future moving forward. And like you say, it's a 1.5 rather than 2.0. The great features, though, of this headset are the new higher resolution LCD, which is a low persistence display, which has the great optics that we've seen on Go, and now we're seeing on Quest as well. It does use a single 2560 by 1440 panel, just like the Go, but it actually looks way better than the Go in practical trying it out terms. The display is very sharp and clear, and that's because it's using this LCD sub-pixel arrangement, so it's very, very, very good clarity in terms of what you see in the headset. And again, just like Quest over the original Rift, you get reduced screen door effect and reduced.
What did you say about the pixel arrangement? Which one?
Rift S.
LCD. Yeah, which pixel arrangement was it?
RGB stripe. Sub-pixel arrangement.
Right? Pentel.
No.
Are you sure?
Hey, for anyone who doesn't know these things, this sounds amazing. This is like Rainbow Road.
Pental is the original Rift.
And the new one has the RGB striping.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why, although it's a lower resolution than the competition in terms of like Vive Pro and others, you still get that very nice clarity.
It's just saying, it's funny that from Quest, where we just talk about how fun it is at the start, it's like with PC, it's okay, let's talk about specs. Here we go. I love this transition. I love it.
It is important, but
it is, of course.
Because especially when we start, because I see people in the chat already asking, can you compare PSVR to Quest, PSVR to like the Rift S? Like with the Rift S, since they're using RGB striping, are they now also using? They're still using 2 subpixels per pixel, right?
So it's three sub-pixels.
So they're using 3 sub-pixels. So it's like the PSVR.
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of that pixel arrangement. But yeah, like, a lot of people were concerned about the resolution because it's not a huge jump forward from what we already had on Rift, but it does look way nicer, even though it's not a huge jump. And that's because of this clarity. Also, because of the LCD being low persistence, it feels very smooth. And the optics are just really nice. And even though it's running at 80 hertz compared to 90 hertz, you don't really notice, and it is still a really great experience. And, having had this now at home, I've taken down all my other Rift sensors now. I don't feel like I need that anymore. So I completely removed my old Rift and the sensors, and I'm going to be using this going forward. Because interestingly, when you connect this headset to Steam VR, it shows a Rift with 3 sensors. So I don't know. It does offer a comparable experience, so I guess that's why. But the headset, I would say, is very comfortable. The new Halo strap is very comfortable. I'm growing more and more to like it, and the face cushion and everything else feels great on my face, so you could wear it for prolonged periods of time without any issues. One of the key features of this headset, I would say one of the most important features of this headset is the Oculus Insight tracking system. It's got 5 cameras dotted around the headset that track your movements and hand controllers inside out, so you don't need these external sensors anymore. And from what I've experienced so far in most of the games, it's performed pretty great. There's some edge cases that I'm going to talk about a little bit later that cause a few issues that I do want to test some more, but for the most part, it's a great experience. Also, the latency between the controller movement compared to original Rift with sensors, it actually feels slightly faster on Rift S than it does on the original Rift, which is a bizarre thing to say. So when you play Beat Saber, for example, it feels better because it feels like there's less latency between your controller movement and it registering in game. Even not like I ever thought it was originally a problem in the Rift, but it is slightly noticeably quicker. Just something I picked up.
You're not the only one who's saying that, Mike. I've seen that reported elsewhere with people with Rift S's. So
that's good to hear.
What could cause that? What is
just the technology built into the headset, I guess.
Carmack.
Is it because they're using the LCD displays now?
I think it's something to do with the Bluetooth connection between the controller and the headset. They must have improved something somewhere to make it better.
Also just to mention is like the top of the line headset. This is like the latest thing also like Lenovo came up with in terms of specs. So this is the best you can get in, let's say, the MR lineup, because in the end it's an MR headset, right? So
yeah, and that's the thing, like there was a lot of concerns about Lenovo being involved in this partnership. I was one of those people. I was like, hey, do we really want a Windows MR Oculus headset? Probably not. But in terms of its inside out tracking capability and ease of setup, I would say this has the edge over Windows MR. Of course, with some Windows MR headsets like the Odyssey, sim racers are still going to prefer that, and I understand why, because it's got OLED panels. It's probably better for Elite Dangerous and like Project Cars and games like that. But for general games with Steam VR and Oculus, I would say this probably has the edge. So it depends on your use cases, of course, but it's way more legit than anyone gave it credit for in the early days. Let's put it that way.
It is interesting that we are seeing a shift going to LCD, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
I remember a couple of, I'll touch upon it because I did some research on it a bit later as well. I'll touch upon it later when we're talking about another LCD headset. But it's interesting to see because a couple of years ago, I remember Facebook was saying that the future in VR was OLED, deeper blacks, the low persistence that they had back then. So
yeah, I think the main benefit is that the low persistence of the LCD is pretty good, and also like to really see it for yourself, again, you would have to have like the Odyssey and this headset side by side to really tell the difference. Like if you just gave this to a person, they're not going to say, oh, those blacks aren't quite that black, they look a bit gray to me. They're just going to have a great time in the headset, and that's the most important thing. However, so there are some benefits, of course. Oculus Insight is great. Pass-through mode is great. You can enable this anytime you want just by double pressing the home button, which is awesome. Ease of setup, not having sensors, awesome. There are some caveats though to this headset, and this is where things get a bit more complicated and where it's a bit more difficult to recommend to current Rift owners. It's a no-brainer to recommend to VR newcomers. That's a given. But for current Rift owners, there are some caveats you need to know and be aware of. The audio of this headset, as it stands, because it runs through the strap, isn't particularly great. It's on par with what's offered on Quest and Go. It's okay, but for me, with a PC VR experience, you want the best possible experience. So the original headphones on Rift and over-ear headphones, I would definitely recommend. And this is where I was going to say about headphones, because I think any pair of headphones will work well on the Quest, but because this chunky head strap here, it's difficult to get your headphones over this. The SteelSeries Arctic headphones I've got don't work with this headset. It just doesn't fit. Whereas the HyperX headset...
Wait. It doesn't fit. Why doesn't it fit?
So I shall tell you why. Because
it's conflict with the band. Yeah, I've seen this before.
This is the SteelSeries. It has no adjustment. It's a fixed design other than flexible strap.
Yeah.
With the HyperX, as you can see on my head, I can adjust it by pulling it in and out.
So to drop it down further past the strap. Yeah, exactly. It was the exact same problem on like convention floors with headsets and the PSVR when it first landed, because you would get this like suspension on the band that wasn't comfortable, or it would be like, you know, funky. You have to drop it down below. So those parameters are interesting, and I'm glad you're mentioning it, Mike, because actually the band on the side. Can you hold it up to the camera again? It's actually quite thick.
So your let's say what you're saying here is that your headphones need to travel a further distance to get to your ears again. So when the headband goes over it, then the sides also need to be flexible enough to go closer to your head again, because there's it's a thick headband.
Exactly. So as long as you've got adjustable headphones that can slide in and out to adjust the length, to adjust it, then you should be fine. But fixed ones like the Arctic SteelSeries, they're not just going to work very well.
Okay.
So the other issue I would say that I've found so far is with gun stocks. So I tested this very briefly with contractors using the Force Tube.
Oh, shit.
Good thing is that the controllers fit in the same Oculus Rift cups as before, so you shouldn't need to buy new ones. They fit in there quite snug, which is nice. However, because of, you got to bear in mind, I didn't calibrate this. I just chucked them in where my original Rift was set up for, and I just tried it. So the way that the back controller here is so close to the headset, that causes issues anyway, and it's not really advised. So whenever you bring the headset, the controller very close to the headset, it loses tracking anyway. So that's one problem. The second problem is that one controller is in directly the front of the other one. So one is blocking the other one's tracking capability. Now, Oculus do have some, magic to help that work, but in game, it just doesn't give you the best experience using a gun stock. However, with all that said, that was only with some very quick testing, and I've been talking to ProTube this week about this issue, because obviously they're aware of it, and it's their business to be aware of it. And he's giving me some practical advice and guidance on how to reset this up and test it. So I will be testing it more in the future. Stay tuned for that. But I would just say that if using gun stocks and shooters and competitive play is your bag, maybe this isn't the headset to go for.
Still, even with you saying that the tracking is slightly better, because that slightly better could make the difference for a competitive experience.
In Beat Saber, the latency is less. That's still not the tracking, really.
Yeah, those are separate things, I'd say.
Yeah, so I would say the tracking for the average user is fine. Even for me as a sort of prosumer on the edge, I think it's fine for me, and I'm happy with the compromises and sacrifices to use it going forward. However, if you're a competitive Lone Echo player, Echo Arena player, when you're grabbing a wall and throwing at the same time, although it will cope pretty well, and both Oculus and the developers of Lone Echo are working hard to come up with a solution that works the best with this setup, it's not going to be perfect. And I would be surprised if in the future at the ESL and the VR League, I would be surprised if they use the Rift S. I would think moving forward, even at Oculus Connect, the next one, they will still be using the original Rift with external sensors, is my guess, my opinion.
But on the other side, like ESL, yes, like Rift is the go-to, but there's also a little bit of marketing involved here, where they want to push new headsets and kind of promote that. So I do think we are going to see a shift I don't think, like, let's say the Oculus Rift is a great headset, but in the long run, it's not the newest in the lineup for Oculus to promote. So I don't know about that. They can't force players maybe to, but on the other side, ESL is partnered with Oculus. They're not using a Vive next to an Index or whatever headsets. It's not a mishmash of headsets. It's just the Oculus only. So Oculus has also a lot to say about ESL and what's getting used. So
I do think that a lot of that. I do think that a lot of that can also still be software-matic resolved, both from Oculus side and from a developer standpoint. But it's like you said, Mike, it will never be perfect.
Yeah, so I think that's my point. That's my giveaway, is that I think it's a great headset. Personally, I'm going to be using it moving forward. But if you're a real competitive player or you use gun stocks regularly, just please bear that in mind. If you're a current Rift owner and you want the highest resolution, it's a great little step, but it's not a huge jump. So maybe it's worth waiting for.
So what you're saying is,
if you're a VR newcomer, go for it.
So what you're saying, they should wait for this potential Rift 2.
Yeah, or maybe get an Index. If you're that high level enthusiast, then the Index has got base station tracking, which we're going to move on to in a bit. Yeah, and that's going to give you the best experience.
Well, again,
it's not a solution, because if you're a competitive player, when you're going to play competitive matches, you're still going to play on an Oculus device. So you can buy yourself an Index, but then once you're going to have to play in a competitive match on some kind of tournament,
that's why you're going to stick with the original Rift until the next.
But that's not even. It's almost not an option because the carpet's gone out of your feet. I mean, I noticed this week, and this was a little bit of a shocking thing. I mean, I told you that I've used my Rift quite a bit. It's got to the point now where, like, the foam in the back, the glue has melted and the foam's coming away. Like, there's like air gaps on both sides. It's falling apart. And I bought a headset straight out the door. I've used the same one. It's been fine for me all the way through the journey. But, that thing is going to die at some point in the next year probably because of that fact. Some part of the headset, it's going to have duct tape on it or something, right? There's going to be other people who play even more than I do. And, I use it as my daily driver. But they're not going to be able to refresh to that. They've got to choose a different path. And so that makes it really interesting in the ecosystem to have you can go to S, you can go up to Index if you want. Quest isn't really an option for this, but for exactly what you're talking about, Mike, if you're into esports, if you're into shooters with a stock, I'm really curious to hear more about your testing. I really am interested in the controller occlusion and all those pieces. But this was actually asked early in the chat, like, does it work? And one of the things with the force tube, when you set it up correctly, that kind of gun stock, is to get your face really close in, because you want to basically rest your cheekbone against the force tube, just like you would a real gun and the butt stock. So, but there was another thing that for competitive gameplay matters, which is cable length, because you want to stand in a space, you want to have the ability to pivot. Cable length on the S versus the original Rift, Mike?
Oh yeah, it's much longer. Yeah, because it's like 15 feet long cable, so it's much longer than the original Rift cable. Plus, you can extend it, which I have done an extra additional 6 foot. So 21-foot cable in total is what I've got right now.
Jeez, run downstairs practically.
Yeah,
I'm just very interested to see how things are going to shift, because Oculus announced the fact that they are not restocking the Rift anymore. Now the clock is ticking. Now there's a timer that will actually set things in motion. It's true, because you have no option anymore to go back to another Rift, a new one, I would say. You could still maybe scoop one up, but in the end, they're just showing this is our new headset that we're going to support. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so
Time will tell.
Where the Quest is a really easy product to recommend, it's really easy to recommend. It's kind of difficult to recommend this product to everyone because it doesn't tick all the boxes for everyone.
Yeah.
But the Quest is also one of a kind. Let's say if there's ever going to be a Quest 2 out there, then it's kind of like, we also have this standalone VR headset that is the same as the Quest, so maybe you want to, and that's not there yet because it's the first one ever.
Yeah.
So
but now's the time. Like, if you're gonna go and if you decided, like, I want to get a Rift, even if you can't get a new Rift, the amount of people shunting their used and probably in good quality headsets onto eBay and sites like that, now's the time, right? The longer you wait, the longer those prices are going to start. I mean, it's a dwindling population now. So,
but I think I do have to be clear, like, for the 99% of gamers out there that aren't the competitive players, don't use gun stocks every day. It's a great headset.
Who are you? Who are you?
But there's one thing I just want to also mention is that I mentioned this previously on a show, and I've mentioned it in some of my videos as well, that I said that these new touch controllers are going to be the new controllers going forward, of course. But I did say that if you broke your original Rift controllers and you broke them, you would need to buy these ones, and these would work with the sensors. Now, when I tried to pair these controllers to the original Rift, it didn't work. And when I tried to pair the original controllers to the new headset, that didn't work either. And I've heard from a source that they're not going to be supporting that either. I've reached out for clarification from Oculus directly to try and find out the definitive answer. So I hopefully will be able to let you know next week's show. But I just thought I'd let you know that there's a bit of ambiguity. I've said in a previous episode.
Yeah, but there's only one option here, right? Oculus support are going to have to, if you're still in warranty, which once again is going to be a shortening window. If you're still in warranty and your headset breaks because of headset race, they're just going to have to fund you with new kit. And I've already seen evidence of that on Reddit reported. So that's got to be their go-to, because they want people on the new equipment anyway. It's easier for maintenance and all.
We're not saying that anyone should break their headsets now.
No, you're going to be very careful. Let's say if you're watching right now or you're listening to this podcast and you're looking for a new career, try to buy all these, broken and also just fine touch controllers, the old ones, store them in this warehouse and start your business. This is your moment. Like, seriously, the longer we proceed in this whole journey, the more you will see this stuff happen where someone's like, hey, I still got like 5, Rift CV1s, brand new, sealed. You want to buy them? Like, there are going to be these little businesses popping up that still sell like new
sounds like
new
Star
stuff
Wars
from back in the days.
It definitely sounds like Star Wars to me, one of those like junkyards.
May the 4th.
Mike, there is a question here, and I'm quite keen to see this. Side by side between the two sets of controllers, if you do have them there, to be able to show the comparison of one touch controller 1.0 versus 2.0, if you can. If you've got them, or Nathie.
I got the.
Oh, it's a race. The race is on. We have 3 horses bolting.
Already. There's the new one.
We need it side by side. You got to have both, Rowdy.
But Mike one and me.
Mike has one and Rowdy. You can share. You can both have the.
There you go.
There we go.
There's the original.
I'll do it too.
So that's the 2 side by side. So you can see like the new one has got the inverted tracking ring. The old one's got it underneath. So that protects your knuckles when you hit the wall. This one doesn't.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of people hitting their ceilings with them. Rowdy, can you show us yours? Just because I think your lighting is slightly better.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And just back off from the camera a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So it is, like the profile it's shrunk by a good 20% or something.
It's lighter as well.
Yeah.
It's about I can't remember how many grams it was. It was something like 158 or 59 grams was the original, and 130 grams was the new one, both with batteries in.
That's perfect. That's great.
Wow.
And if you didn't hear it earlier, the thing that I'm most nervous about on that is still the battery door on the controller.
It's fine if you adjust your grip.
And it was only Beat Saber I noticed it in, because that's an intense game. So
you know what else I noticed? This is just a little comparison between my unboxing with the Quest and the Rift S. On the Quest, they have the stickers on the controllers left and right, so you know which ones you need to hold. And then on a Rift S, they don't. So it shows again that they're trying to aim for different audiences.
It's funny because
that's kind of like making clear what headsets have.
So I've kept the sticker on my Quest ones, because then I know which ones are which.
For pairing reasons. And Rowdy's showing us.
They look exactly the same.
One of the questions for our audio listeners was, what does it take to power it? Is it a rechargeable battery? And I think it's a single
AA, right?
AA battery.
Yeah, and they last a long time, just like the original touch controllers did. They last like months.
I've played for hours already, and they're still 100%. So
so just quickly before we move on to the index, then, because I want to ask Nathie his opinions, because of course you got a Rift S as well, right, Nathie?
Yeah, but honestly, I haven't been playing that much with it because I got so excited over the Quest, and also for me on the channel, we want to make people excited for VR, and I think the biggest chance I can really grab at this moment to preach VR is with the Quest.
Fair enough.
And the Rift S, I think next week when like the whole crazy rat race has kind of died down a little bit, I will be spending more time with the Quest or with the Rift S. I did set it up, and I gotta say it's super easy. It's really nice, and also same demo, really cool. But that's about it. So I need to spend more time with it. Yeah.
Of course, like we've all tried the Rift S, even though.
Oh yeah, no, true.
Anyway,
that's also true. Yes.
From
Not me.
Oh no, Rowdy hasn't. He wasn't at PAX.
No.
Oh, right. Jesus.
So maybe like the three of us can just quickly give. I've given my takeaway on the Rift S. What about you two, just quickly before we move on to the index?
Rift S. So, and again, mine was an engineering model at PAX, which I think they used to get rid of them and throw them on the show floor. But I felt it was a very comfortable headset, probably the most comfortable headset that I've used to date, which is why I'm really excited to have it as my new daily driver. The things that I noticed that weren't so great about it were the color depth, and that's why I'm interested, Mike, if you noticed in the side-by-side with the Rift, if the color depth is noticeably less saturated than the original Rift.
Because you're moving from OLED to LCD.
Because that's what I noticed, that there was a noticeable step into the kind of what I'll call gray zone with that difference. And then the other thing was Rift S, on the plus side, let's say, other than being comfortable, the sweet spot, and I thought the God rays as well, were improved to a degree that made me want to buy a headset, which then I did. So.
Oh, you pre-ordered one?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I think for consumers, it's a great headset to get, not only because of the headset, because also of the platform. There are so many good games on there. It's a solid platform. So I think for that only is already like a good step forward. And then we're not even talking about the hardware yet. Just Oculus Home is just, it has so many magical experiences you can dive into. For the VR enthusiast, maybe you should wait this out and see what all these other headsets are going to do that will soon be launched, because there is definitely something going to happen soon. The only negative I can say about the Rift S for VR enthusiasts is that I thought, and again, when I got it here at home, when I tried it, the field of view, I don't know, it's kind of me looking through this window, and I didn't even I'm not someone who first checks that out, where it's like, okay, let's check resolution, let's do this, let's do that. No, I put it on, and I was like, it's a little small. It's a little smaller than the Rift, I would say. Because, and maybe I'm just crazy, because then we're in this ballpark of like, what do you think? What do I feel? What do I see? But I think it is. I don't know. I just don't help it.
There could be a good reason for that, because obviously it has a slider adjustment at the bottom.
I tried it. I have been, of course. Okay. But I think it's not immersion breaking. But let's say if you're a VR enthusiast looking for more field of view, I don't know if this is what you want to get. But for consumers, awesome.
Officially less, because I thought the specs that I saw was the same.
They said slightly more, in fact.
But could it be the face cushion then, kind of?
Makes such a difference. There's so many variables in that. Like there's literally three to five variables in what make that up. I've even found it recently when I was just changing my VR cover that I noticed that I was noticeably. I was like, hang on a second, I've lost 10 degrees of FOV here. What did I do?
Seriously, it could be the face cushion causing this idea of me having less field of view. I think if you that's what I know is with VR covers. If I use them, my field of view increases. So it could be the face cushion itself that kind of causes it. But that's what I noticed. Slight difference what we're talking about here. But the rest, consumers, definitely a headset to get. It's super consumer friendly.
Awesome. Cool. So that is the Rift S. Now things start getting really juicy. This is where we start getting all.
Can I do my Superman moment here on podcast?
Sure, go for it.
Go it. It's inverted. It says Evlav. For everyone else, Nathie just did a kind of very quick striptease and revealed Valve across his chest, which thankfully isn't in permanent marker, but is actually a t-shirt.
It's shirt. Yes.
So let's talk about the index then, because it was kind of a crazy week for us because obviously Facebook F8 was happening. Nathie and I were streaming the F8 event. And then all of a sudden, before the event even starts, our chats are going like insane. Like, the index information has just dropped. You need to check this out. I thought they were trolling me.
I didn't believe it for like 20 minutes. It was so great.
I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, we'd been waiting for this information forever. It felt like so. But they did. They dropped all the details that we wanted to know about this headset just before Facebook announced their new headsets, and it was just an expert troll move on Valve's behalf. They took a bit of the wind out of Oculus and Facebook sales, I think, by doing that. And both Nathie and I, being in VR enthusiasts, couldn't help ourselves but show all the specs and talk about it on stream as well, because we were both so excited. So what they wanted, they achieved in that sense.
It's kind of a two-way street, though, isn't it? Like, I thought, I was like, oh, this is them coming in to disrupt. But also at the same time, with that price tag, which we'll talk about in a minute, it floods people the other way. Because it's like, oh, well, feck it, with that price, I'm just going to go buy this then. It's like, it kind of is a double-edged sword for them. So that's why I was a little bit surprised. I'm sure it did end up, generating more sales.
I think by them dropping the news around the time did impact it, but not as big as you think it did. Because in the end... as we said, the Quest and also the Rift S are mainly for new consumers looking for a headset. Well, Valve already said this for a while now, that the Index, or whatever name they had before, was actually for the high-end users. So these are two different markets we're talking about. But yeah, of course, it can disrupt a little bit because there is so much news going around another headset where people are like, hey, wait, so I wanted to get a Quest, but what is this? And then they start to go deeper into this rabbit hole of headsets and stuff.
But what I like about it is it makes it very exciting and interesting for us being involved in the industry, and also those watching from the sidelines. It's almost like watching two wrestlers get into the ring, and they've got these personas that are duking it out, and it's like before they start fighting, it's the beef that goes on between.
It all started with this IPD adjustment advertisement where everyone's like, is this Valve kind of hinting towards an Oculus or Facebook? We want to compete. And now again with this too, it's like, it's not random. It's like them like, hey, let's do it right before F8, and here we go again. So, and it's such a powerful marketing tool where Valve doesn't need to make noise themselves. They just leak it, and then the community does it for them. And Oculus is like, they really need to do their own marketing in a way. Like, Valve has such a different strategy to it. The community just makes the noise. That's what they do.
It's also because the products that they release, from pretty much everything that they've released so far, software and hardware wise, they often at the front of disruptive technology. This headset again, it's disrupting technology in the VR world as well, because I'm sure Mike will go over the specs in a moment, but it's quite impressive,
Yeah,
so it goes
absolutely. Around. Yeah, without doubt. And let's move on straight onto the specs then, because this headset has two ultra low persistence 1600 by 1440 pixels per eye LCD panels. Like we mentioned earlier, it's using LCD technology, same as Rift S, because of the low persistence and the RGB striped sub-pixel arrangement. Makes it look very clear in the headset. Not that any of us have tried it, by the way, but obviously we know what these LCD panels could look like. And when you compare this resolution as well to Rift S, it's a significant jump up, so it's going to look even better. And then when we talk about the field of view of this headset, you mentioned with the Rift S, Nathie, that you felt that it was slightly confined, but with this headset, they're touting that it's 20 degrees more than what Vive was offering with their headset, so that would work out around 130 degrees field of view, which, to put it comparatively to what Pimax is offering, Pimax offered a headset that offered 170 on its higher setting, but its lower setting was around 130, 135. So it's comparable to the field of view of the Pimax on its lower setting, but still a step up from what we're used to.
But numbers aside, right? Me hearing Norm from Tested go on about how he doesn't want to step back from the additional field of view was enough for me to just get mouth-watering desire for this piece of equipment. I mean, that was it. I just needed to hear that. You hear it from a trusted source, and it's like, I need to put my head in this thing. And that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, exactly. And the interesting thing is that the resolution of this headset, isn't significantly wider or anything like that. They've used a lot of special tricks, like they've stacked the lenses. So you've got two Fresnel lenses stacked on top of each other, and also this is really interesting as well. They're not perpendicular to your eyes. They're actually canted slightly 5 degrees outwards.
Huh.
So that using those two tricks must increase the field of view, but also I did notice in the tested video that Norm said that the lenses are very close to your eyes, like bring them very close. So it might be an issue for glasses.
Like almost in your eyeballs, he said.
Yeah, but we'll know. Obviously,
reminds me of my DK1 where my lenses were like in my eyeballs. It feels nice to have them in your eye, like hugging your eyeballs, but it's not. Yeah. Well, never mind. Let's not go into this, satisfying eyeball.
If we say that the Rift S is like a 1.5, generation 1.5, would you guys consider the Index now to be next generation officially? This is the hallmark,
With those controllers, totally.
Yeah, I agree.
Haven't tried it yet. I'm going to call it 1.75 until I've tried it.
Okay.
I had the same impressions in.
1.75.
1.75, I was a little bit on the edge of them, but there are parts of it that I do think that are next generation, including the controllers. I do think that the controllers are next gen, and I also think that the screen that they're boosting is pretty much.
There's only one feature on this headset that is properly next gen, and that is the frunk.
Before we get onto the front, though,
more specs.
There's something else.
More specs, right?
But there's something else that I think is legitimately next gen that we haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I know. Yeah, I agree.
That is the refresh rate, because this is the first headset we've ever seen in the VR industry that pushes the frame rate of the headset, or the refresh rate, I should say, of the headset beyond 90 hertz. This headset is capable of running at 80, 90, 120, and in experimental mode, 144 hertz. This is where it gets super interesting. And I'm super intrigued about what this looks like in practical terms, because I'm used to 72 hertz on the Quest, 80 hertz on the Rift S, 90 on Vive and the original Rift, but we've never experienced a higher refresh rate than that.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's funny because we talked about it.
Yeah, fuck you, Rowdy.
Not that long ago. Like, it's like, they saw.
He knew.
Actually, I'm glad you actually mentioned it, because I did some research this week as well, and I reached out to some people online, because the true reason why I'm saying that this display is really next generation is actually more because of the low persistence that they managed to reach with this, rather than the refresh rate. Both are a bit linked to each other. But I reached out to the guy from Blurbusters, and I briefly checked if you guys knew him, but he's the one who originally, because I looked up the article, he originally worked for Oculus on a contract base, because back in the days, the early days of the Kickstarter, Oculus had a tremendous problem, which if they looked to the left and the right, you had enormous amount of motion blur, just because they used, well, I don't know which display they used, but when you move over an image, you get a motion blur, just like we talked about in that podcast. Yeah. And Paul Malocki actually found this guy online who was promoting kind of how to deal with motion blur and how to deal with that. It's actually, his name is Mark Rashon, and he is the one who originally introduced the idea of low persistence to Oculus before Pimax, before HTC Vive. He is the one who originally, on a contract base, before Carmack, before everyone, who actually introduced that concept. So if there's anyone who knows what he's doing, it's him. So I reached out to him on Twitter, and I actually asked him, I would love to hear your take on the new Valve Index displays. They claim an ultra low persistence, having a reduced illumination period of 0.330 milliseconds up to 0.53 milliseconds, combined with a refresh rate of 120 hertz. What do you think of this? And he said that he's very glad that there's now a sub 1 millisecond persistence, because that is also something that is very much needed, because there's some kind of a vicious circle going there, because the higher resolution that you have, the easier it becomes to see motion blur. So that's already one thing. If we increase the resolution, we will notice motion blur more. Also, when you're using a wider field of view, the motion on screen will be longer, which means, again, it will be easier to see motion blur. And this means that the VR displays put very, very high pressure on a high resolution and a wide field of view innovation, but that also needs that very low 1 milliseconds persistence. I also asked him, how do you think that they did it? Because I found it strange that they're all moving from OLED to LCD, since they used to say like OLED better colors, better blacks, better saturation levels, but everyone is using LCD now. Well, it seems like the move is going to LCD, and that is indeed because of recent developments in LCD displays, where they use LCD basically was with strobing lights, so they have a backlight that is back projection, and they say in order to get low persistence there, what they need to do is the gray to gray pixel response time needs to be hidden in the blanking interval. So when it goes off the display, that's where you actually need to hide that gray to gray pixel response time. And if you can do that, then that is pretty much the hard part done, because then you will have limitless motion clarity that is only limited by the flash length of the backlight, which then is 0.25 milliseconds persistence for a 0.25 milliseconds flash, which is roughly the persistence that Valve is achieving. So they're getting that top-notch the top-notch technology of their backlight strobing, the gray to gray pixel response time. He posted a lot of articles on my Twitter. I'm not gonna read all of them, but it's very interesting stuff. Okay. So if there are people interested in learning more about this, they need to check out blurbusters.com. It's a lot of valuable information on there.
So can you also sum this up in monkey language?
This was monkey language.
That was the easiest you could.
Okay. That was
fair enough. I appreciate the explanation. It's very interesting.
So basically, in monkey languge, it's going to look better.
Okay. That's what I said. Hey. I said that as well. I said the same thing.
Thank you. Now I know. Now I know. Thank you. Yeah.
So let's just quick continue on before we get onto the pricing, because that's where things get quite interesting as well. But this headset does feature mechanical IPD adjustment. It will accommodate IPDs between 58 and 70 millimeters. They have built-in off-ear headphones. So they're not on-ear headphones like the original Rift. They're off-ear headphones, which is kind of an interesting design.
Like speakers in a way.
They're like speakers, but they're just like a few centimeters away from your ears.
So like two speakers taped onto your head.
Basically, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what they sound like. It's got two front-facing cameras. They're not for tracking. We know that because it uses the base station tracking technology. But they are two full-color pass-through cameras. So like we've seen on Quest and Rift S, they're black and white. This is going to be full-color pass-through. Interesting to see if it's going to be stereoscopic, but we'll find out when it releases. Like Zim touched on earlier, the front cutout, we finally know what it is. It's called the Frunk, which is like from Tesla. Is that right, Nathie?
Yeah.
You're a Tesla fan?
Elon Musk approves.
Exactly. This is kind of like an open thing where there's no real accessory for it, official accessory. It's for modders and tweakers to make their own accessory for it. What we've seen so far is like what we hinted at on a previous episode of the show was that they're going to use like little LED panel to do some basic sort of like, showing icons and little logos and stuff.
You can become the Knight Rider.
Yeah, because like, the front glass is opaque, so you can see the LEDs behind it, which is kind of cool. It does come with a 5-meter cable, so same sort of length as the Rift S, but it does have a 1-meter breakout cable after that as well, which you need to plug in DisplayPort, USB, and power. They will be shipping with Steam VR 2.0 base stations, so an improvement over the originals, and of course the Valve Knuckles controllers, which we've talked about a lot previously on the show, and we've kind of compared them earlier when we talked about the Pimax ones. So let's get on to the price, because this is the one thing out of everything that really shocked me, because we had a bit of a round table guess on the price on a previous episode of the show. I think I guessed around about $800 I thought, for the whole bundle. Can you guys remember what you were?
I think you were more at the 6 point, Mike, but
6, 7.
Yeah, but basically, it's going to be $1,000 for the complete bundle, which of course includes the headset, base stations, controllers, stands for those base stations. It's going to be everything you need to get into VR. But $1,000, it's pretty steep. What did you guys think of the price when you first heard it?
It was bang on. I called it. It's just inflation. Someone did a trajectory of the previous headset prices, all in price, and it's actually not far off. It's really not. It's about $100 different to the original Vive if you do the calculations for it. So I wasn't surprised at that. For what they're selling, it's still a lot of money. And although I was going to buy the Index, when I added all the bits up, I was like, I can't spend $2,000 on headsets and have the same Vive problem I had back in the day with the CV1. 2 PCVR headsets in one house just doesn't make sense to the average consumer. So you have to pick one to go with, unfortunately.
If you like, let's say if you have to completely buy everything, it's such a high price. But if you still own a Vive and you have base stations, you have the Vive, you have the controllers, you don't have to buy everything. You could say like, I want a new headset, or hey, I want to have the controllers. So them actually making everything available separately is a good step. It's still expensive, of course, but then you can at least decide to first buy this and then maybe buy something later. So you have the option to not buy instantly, but just kind of upgrade along the way.
And on Nathie's point, right? One of the things I was wondering, because we were talking about controllers before, if you first day that you get your Rift S, your Quest out of the box, and you punch a wall, you break your controller, are they selling extra controllers? I did not see that on the store. So I wonder how long we're going to have to wait, because they made that mistake with CV1 originally. And I say mistake because it is a foreseeable thing that someone's going to need a replacement. Why can't I buy them separate? And straight out the door, obviously, Valve is letting you do that as strategically, and it's backwards compatible with all the bits, so you can kind of step into it, which makes it really nice.
Yeah.
When I saw the price, I had to check if the symbol was for Indian rupee or euro.
Oh, that's a funny one.
So out of the group, Zim, you said you didn't pre-order one.
No, I have to skip.
Did you pre-order one?
My wallet is crying at the moment, so yes.
He's crying.
I like at this, like I can tell you, like we were sitting downstairs, and David was going to pre-order it for me because we were so busy that I said, like, listen, you just gotta sit behind the computer and pre-order it for me. It's very important. And then the moment this countdown hit, of course, the whole website went down. It's the summer sale all over again, and it was like complete like chaos, like where it's like, oh, check upstairs, and then we finally went to the payment, but then it got stuck and stuff like that. So we were completely, because if you were one of the first ones to buy one, then you also get it. Well, that's what we all think earlier. And well, in the end, it took us maybe 6-7 minutes to buy one. But I was I was like genuinely excited to buy one. Although it's a lot of money, it's still. Plus, I am blessed to also get a lot of headsets for free, like the Quest and the Rift S. I don't need to buy them, so it's great to be able to buy this and show it off later on our YouTube channels, right?
Yeah. So in terms of which did you go for, the full bundle?
Yeah, everything. Because like, of course, everyone wants to see everything usually. So that's why I bought everything. If I personally had to make a choice, I might have just went a little bit below that package because
Fair enough. What about you, Rowdy? Were you interested in pre-ordering?
No, I didn't pre-order.
Okay. And what was your sort of justification for that? Just because you're
well, I mean,
you'd rather spend...
First of all, like it's an expensive headset. You can't go around that. It's a very expensive headset. And second, since the majority of the VR content that I purchase for the channel, not really that much personal use, I don't, and I have a gaming channel, I do gaming. The content on it will not be different, whether I show it on the Rift or the Vive or the Index. So from that, if I would buy an Index, it would solely be for my own benefit. So, and I still need to buy a new graphics card. I still need to buy a new laptop. There are other expenses that I need to do. So those things currently have priority. I did put like a reservation, but like a day later or something. So it's like in September. And then I was like, oh, great. In September, I might have money.
But I mean, what Rowdy says here makes sense because in the end, like Mike and I are doing it full time. There is no question when it gets announced if we're going to buy it or not. You just buy it. That's it. If you are interested in that headset or not, you just buy it because it's a part of the VR adventure. So that's usually that's kind of like the big difference here. That Rowdy doesn't need to buy it.
Yeah, I might still get the Knuckles because I'm thinking that the kind of like experience that they deliver might just stop the ones that I have. So that might be a purchase.
Still, even I was teetering there because, and I've had that unfortunate cycle. For those who don't know, I had original pair of Vive controllers, and then We had an accident and one of them died, so I had to buy another set, which was another 260 quid. That's a lot of money for a pair of controllers. Like, that's what you pay for a console. And looking at these, I could just, like, it was the same kind of echo in my brain. I'm like, I can't spend 270 quid on just a pair of controllers that I've never tried. I just can't, even though I think it's a really cool thing. And I wasn't expecting them to be completely compatible. I think that that's a really nice feature. But the fact that whatever gets developed for the Index will have at least some backwards compatibility.
Yes.
For now, right? From what Valve have said, that doesn't mean third parties are going to necessarily keep compatibility and that you're going to be able to play all software that's going forward in the future on older Vive equipment. That's not necessarily true. I can wait.
Listen, Zim, have you heard about the Sword controllers plus Labo VR? You can build your own controllers out of cardboard, okay?
But I mean, there's just the thing is now
there are options.
Like what Rowdy said is really true. One of the things when you're a content creator in particular is deciding where you're putting your money and where the impact is going. Like if you go, like Quest is an obvious one because it's a new way of gaming and that's so easy and it's a whole new way of broadcasting to people. So for streaming purposes, like I'm on a 1080 and it's like, do I want to go for new CPU, new graphics card, new headset all together? I mean, I'm going to pay probably $2,000 for that alone, even if I go in. So the investment is not just the ticket price. It's the price of the headset, it's the price of the software and the hardware that you have to kind of upscale so that you have, let's say, 30% breathing room in your PC to encode and actually share that experience. So that, and Rowdy, you run 2 PCs. I mean, you'd have to probably upscale as well, even though you're, balancing between.
Yeah, so talking about that, like talking about specs, because I mean, this is a beefy headset. So what does it need to run on a minimum or recommended?
But that's where for me, like I talked about that to some people. I don't know if you have direct information on that, Mike, but there were people saying that I think a 1070 would be,
it was quite low. I think 1080 was 1080 or 1070. It was something around there.
Well, quite low. Sorry, quite low. But not everyone owns a 1070.
No, but true. The 1070 I still think is a fairly high-end graphics card.
I agree.
At the same time, you will never be able to hit 120 frames per second unless they're doing some kind of Valve magic that we don't know of on a 1070 headset with increased resolution, increased field of view, and an increased frame rate.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening.
So just to confirm, minimum specs are a Windows 10 PC, obviously 8 gigabytes of RAM, a GTX 970. The recommended is, like you said, a GTX 1070.
Yeah.
But like you say, really, if you're going to be pushing like 120 or 144 hertz, a really high-end card like a 2080 Ti, 1080.
Unless That's the thing, we don't know. You don't know what they're doing with this headset. Like if they're pushing these kind of frame rates, then there must be something going on, right? If they're saying recommended 1070.
But that's the point. You not only is it a higher resolution, it's a wider field of view and a higher refresh rate. You're going to need a beefy card for that. There's no magic that can defy science.
Future gen GPUs are welcome. Please, NVIDIA, if you're watching, can you please announce a few new ones because Index is coming soon.
Next gen headsets. Now
you make a few.
Graphic cards.
Yeah, please just make it. It's not that hard, right? Just make a couple of GPUs, please.
But the GPUs that have already been laid as a foundation, the 20 series, those all include in it the whole kind of machine learning AI cores, and that as that improves and as software is tapping into that, you don't necessarily need to up your core GPU on the card. Like that's one of the whole points about the 20 series graphics cards, and that's the magic behind it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what headroom that gives us on that set of cards. I just don't have a 20 series yet myself.
So just quickly, just to dive into the prices, because like you guys said, you can buy all these things a la carte. So you can buy the headset itself for $499 on its own. Yeah. The controllers on their own are $279. Base stations are $149. And then there's a couple of additional accessories you can buy. One is a additional face gasket, so like a replacement facial interface. Yeah. That's $39.99. And then, interestingly, virtual link adapter for $39.99. Yeah. So I went for the full bundle, just like Nathie did. I was smashing F5 just as they went live. I had exactly the same problems that Nathie had with getting to check out at the store. There was all sorts of problems.
Did you also spill cola over yourself while trying to pre-order?
I wasn't that hyped.
Okay.
Almost. But I do know, like a friend of ours, Tyriel Wood, he tried to pre-order as well, and it just completely declined his order.
And it was sold out so quickly too. Like if it didn't work, you were like almost too late. In Europe, it took a little longer, but the US was like extremely fast, and that's why I'm so happy they had different places to order from.
You're totally right, because it went live 6 p.m. UK time on the 1st of May, and the delivery date for that pre-order was the 28th of June. That got sold out within the first few hours. And then it got pushed back to the 31st of August. So if you pre-order one now, you can't even pre-order now. You just reserve one, basically.
It wasn't even hours. It was like 36 minutes, Mike, in the first run.
I did hear that Valve had a let's say not an extremely large stock of these headsets laying around. They were kind of also testing the waters. So by being completely sold out, you don't even know how much they had. If you have 10 of these headsets, it's like, whoa, it sells out so quickly. Bam, nice.
We actually have Drumsy Vive on Twitch saying that he did order one, but because of site issues, he ended up having to buy all 3 components separately and pay $77 more.
Oh, dude.
Oh, shit. Well, at least he got it,
Yeah, true.
You get it on launch day, yeah.
So I did manage to get my pre-order in. I also pre-ordered the Virtual Link connector because I've got a 2080 Ti with the Virtual Link port. I thought it would be nice to check that out because the interesting thing is the cable says that it converts DisplayPort USB to Virtual Link. So it'll be interesting to see if that's also compatible with the Rift S because that uses DisplayPort.
Yeah, should be.
Well. So I'll test that out for you guys and girls. But yeah, let us know as well if you pre-ordered in the chat and if you managed to get in there quick or if you had any problems.
Yeah, so some people say in the chat that some of them were not able to buy it straight away because of these issues. Valve apologized in an email saying that in the end they get invited to order it again next week and still get it on release.
Yeah.
It's very kind.
So one of the things, of course, like we've said, it's an expensive headset. I appreciate that. So I did clear out a lot of old stuff to make room for it. Obviously you've got the Rift S and the Quest now, which thankfully Oculus sent for free. But I did get rid of the Vive Pro. I did get rid of my Pimax. That's on eBay right now. I've decided.
Wait, can we have your signature on there?
If you want it, sure.
And then oh wow!
And just to confirm, the only reason why I'm selling the Pimax is not just because of the Valve Index. It's just because I couldn't really use that headset because of the comfort. I mentioned it on a previous episode of the show because I have a really low IPD, about 58 to 60.
And your nose.
The lenses of the Pimax sit on my nose, so
it's lucky you still have your nose with the Pimax.
Exactly. Just fall off. But the big thing, obviously, alongside the hype around the hardware that we still don't know is, of course, the first-party games from Valve, which I'm really surprised about. I'm super surprised they didn't announce a game alongside the headset.
But the platform
in the headset.
I'm not surprised because think about that. I mean, you're just going to end up with a bunch of people really pissed off that they can't get a headset. You know what I mean? If they were truly testing the waters, as Rowdy was saying, what you do is you do that release and then you wait whatever it is months. You have your warehouses stock full and you're ready for the big release and then you open the gates. So I'm not surprised, but I am disappointed.
Yeah, but in general we don't know much about the platform because these 3 games are still having to be announced, but there must be more too because after those 3 games you played on your Valve Index, what you gonna do? There must be more.
You can play all Steam games with it as well.
But you want to use those that satisfying finger tracking.
I gotta say though, the amount of people who said to me, "Oh, I just bought an Index," and it's like, "Oh, why'd you buy an Index?" It's like, because I saw the Boneworks trailer, and there's so many people. And we said it before. Oh, that's all you need. You just need to see
the controllers. The controllers sell this whole thing. I feel like, and now maybe also the headset itself. Now all the specs are out there. But yeah, as I said in last week's show about the platform, they really need to have more going on than those 3 games, especially if they want you to stay on Steam. And hopefully Epic Games is not going to buy all the VR games soon.
So just to
They
round
don't
it
have
up,
a VR platform yet, right?
No.
No, they don't.
No.
No.
So just to round up, we know that Cloudhead are obviously working on something. I think
Yes.
it's a rock, paper, scissor sort of Portal-esque experience from what I've seen so far and heard.
Right.
Obviously, Stress Level Zero are making Boneworks. And then Valve will be announcing whatever they're releasing, and it will be coming by the end of the year, apparently. So we'll have to wait and find out. But
So
genuinely hyped for the index, for sure.
I'm gonna put some pressure on Zim. Not that I'm trying to comfort you in any way, but let's say if they announce something with Left 4 Dead, okay? Just imagine.
damn it.
Just imagine for a second. And like you just said, like I'm not gonna get it, and I totally feel you. Okay.
It would only work then. It would only be compatible with with the Valve Index.
Yeah, but what like if you can get the full experience with the Valve Index with Left 4 Dead, it's the best you can go for. If you're a real fan of a game, you're going for the best of the best. You're not gonna go for half baked. No, you're gonna go for the ultimate experience. What would happen in household Zim at that moment?
I'd probably
Zim would be single.
No.
Be single.
No, that's the first thing that I'm thinking about is my wife Karen, because we played Left 4 Dead, the first one and the second one together. You know, that is a teamwork game, and having his and her PCs side by side doing that, it scares me to think the price I would need to pay for two PCs with that spec, with that headset, and inevitably having to stream the whole fucking goddamn thing. I just, you know, all I can say is, please Valve, have mercy. Wait at least 6 months, because I don't think I could stomach it. I mean, what I would probably end up doing, you know, being as wise as I can, is I would probably try it on current hardware just to see what that was like.
Yeah.
And then look to upgrade. Like I've always been I'm generally slower than most people, you know, move, and it's probably from my time in the banking industry, because you know you don't leap first generally speaking. That's what I would do. I would test it on existing equipment on both sides of the table, and then determine there. You know, I'd probably fly to someone's house, probably one of yours, and try it out. Because for the price of the ticket, it'd be worth it to then just
Maybe we see these also pop up in arcades. Who knows?
I doubt it. With that equipment price, you think so?
Well, just like this special dark room where it's like, hey, you want to pay a more expensive ticket? Hey, you want to get into this PC Master Race booth right now?
Okay.
Go give it a try.
Dark room and finger presence. Let's not. Anyway.
But just to reiterate, and you made a valid point there, Zim, is that whatever comes out on Index is going to be backwards compatible with all the other VR headsets currently available on the market. So if you're just interested in the games and you're not too fussed about the new Index Knuckles, then you can just skip over it and just try the games.
Index controllers, yes.
I'm going to call them Knuckles forever. Right. So that is the end of the show. We've rabbled on for like almost 2.5 hours. We're just so hyped about all this hardware.
Did you already ask to let people slam a like on this podcast?
You just did. So you
okay.
Words out of my mouth.
Nice. There we go.
But if you've got any questions, now's a great time where I just recap the show times. So if you've got any questions about any of the headsets we've talked about today, Quest, Rift S, or Index, ask now or forever hold your peace. Just a reminder, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Also, check out the audio version, which is awesome, on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. And if you enjoy the show, slam a like and subscribe to the channel.
We got a great question. Speaking of Knuckles, who's hyped for the new Sonic redesign?
I don't know how they're going to pull that off, though, because that is such a massive amount of work. But I'm intrigued.
So wait. For those who
right?
don't know, all I've seen some pictures of a creepy feckin' looking version of Sonic that looks like he's like a child molester or something. I don't know. He doesn't look trustworthy. What's happening?
So we're gonna redesign him.
Should I bring another fact to you? Imagine Jim Carrey playing Dr. Eggman. I thought Mike was going to do it, but in the end they took Jim Carrey. I don't know. I still doubt that that's going to. Mike is, a good actor.
Well, top 3 games, says Campo. So I guess that's a question. So far from your experience thus far on Quest, let's say, top 3 games.
Ping pong.
So Raw Fury, or no, what was it called?
Space
Fury?
Pirate Trainer. Face Your Fears.
Beat Saber.
No?
Shadow Point, and Face Your Fears. Number one. Face Your Fears is number one. It's freaking awesome. I love it.
Yeah, well, I haven't played that much, but let's say right now, number one, First Steps, if I can actually count that one. Journey of the Gods.
Yeah.
Haven't tried that one yet.
3, yeah, Beat Saber as well. I mean, it's still an impressive title, even after a year. It's still such an awesome title. Another one we have here is this is for Mike about the Rift S. Would like to hear Mike's view on the Rift S tracking jitter, and this person has read this on Upload, their website. So, do you have anything to say about that?
I've not noticed any tracking jitter. It is something that I did experience previously on Rift before I had 3 sensors, but I haven't experienced it on the Rift S yet. And that's why I think it's super solid, and that's why I think they've done an amazing job with the Insight system, and that's why I think it will be great for the 95% of the general population out there that want to try it. But what I'm super intrigued about, going back to the Quest quickly, is when are we going to see Nathie play Face Your Fears 2? That's what I want to know.
I am like
this head strap.
Honestly, after I also still need to do that. But hey, talking about Face Your Fears, I am considering it. Okay, I am considering it. And David has been talking to me about making a sandwich with the head strap on there, with all kinds of. He is like totally enjoying this whole meme.
I bet he
So
does.
that's still going to happen. Hopefully here on stream, because
Can't
live
wait.
is way more fun than anything else.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah.
When do we do this? When do we have you eating this head strap live?
don't
Is this
know.
going to be like when the Quest launches and Arizona Sunshine isn't on the store, or can we do that?
Yeah, sure. That's something. Then you give me more time. So yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Prepare your digestive system. You know.
Consult your
I'm-
doctor.
I'm still like, everyone still thinks I'm crazy, but you know, the moment will happen where I was like, well, this dude with his sign up in the air, you know, outside, saying, hey, Arizona's coming on Quest, will, you know.
Well, there was that guy from the Quest subreddit that ate a sock, and he got a free Quest
Yeah,
out of it. So
that's
who
true.
knows what could happen if you
Yeah,
eat
maybe.
a Quest head strap? You know.
Yeah, maybe that's
You get like a Valve Index probably.
Maybe.
One final thing I was going to mention, because it's going to involve a lot of creators tomorrow. We're going to be doing some Serious Sam 3. People like Paradise DK, VR Gamer Dude, a bunch of other people are doing a kind of an en masse Serious Sam 3 gameplay. It'll be tomorrow evening. You can check me on Twitter, which is ZimTalk5, and I'll let you know when we're going live. It's about
Nice.
8 p.m. UK, but I think that's going to be pretty nuts. It's going to be cool to see it from everybody's different viewpoints. So.
Yeah, maybe we should drop Zim's Twitch account in the chat as well, so you don't miss it out.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
So yeah, that is this week's show. We've covered so much in this week's show. So we hope
A historical week, by the way.
It is.
A big step for virtual reality in general. Exciting time, seriously. It's an honor to be among everyone else here, sharing, celebrating VR slowly becoming mainstream. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
incredibly exciting time to
I'm
be
starting
alive.
to sweat now.
I want to hear the stories of where you catch Quest in the wild when you weren't expecting it to be there. Be it a doctor's office, on a bus somewhere. I want to hear from you guys in the next couple of weeks in chat.
Nice one. So yeah, thanks for joining us on this week's show. We hope you have a great week in VR. We'll be back next week as always. So tune in then, and yeah, bye bye for now. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.